What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the PFF NFL show. Trevor, Sikkema, Dalton, Wasserman here with you guys once again to recap what was the weekend in the NFL. Week 3, we're going to go through every single game, every single matchup, give you the top 5 graded players, reveal those grades to you guys here from every single team. We'll give you a stat that told the story beyond just the box score, beyond just the final score. We'll give you a most disappointing, a most impressive, really just kind of talk about these games and really what mattered most moving forward. Dalton? Every coach, every player, they all say the same thing in the NFL. Week-to-week league, right? Yep. And we have the first 2 weeks of the season. We think, all right, 2-week sample size. We feel like we got a good idea of what's coming here in week 3. And this happens every single year. So many different curveballs. Now, I didn't realize that the curveball was going to be like 18 blocked field goals this week. But it is fun to recap and watch the film of a lot of these games, knowing, okay, this is kind of who their identity was right out of the gate. This is how they adjust in week 2. And some of these teams had completely different identities here in week 3.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you mentioned it. It's a week-to-week league, and I think just when you think you know everything, then you don't know anything, right? That's the fun part. And you see it in a lot of these games. It comes down to late game situational football. Trev, we had 7 games decided by a game-winning score in the last 3 minutes. You mentioned the block field goals, defensive touchdowns, things, just game-changing plays that can turn a game upside down in 5 seconds, it seems like, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we just got some wild football yesterday, especially in the early window. There's certainly a lot that we learned, and it feels like now after this week, there's a lot that we don't know as well.
Huge shout out to everybody who is in the chat already. We've got some Browns fans in the chat. I know that Browns fans have been waiting for a long time.
It's all of Tyler's burners. Every one of Tyler's burners.
I can hear our producer Tyler literally clapping through the soundproof glass producing this show. But we've got people in the chat talking about the Browns. We have people in the PFF Discord, which if you guys aren't in the PFF Discord, you got to get in that thing as the season is really having some fun conversations there week by week. The people in the Discord are talking about the Browns. Drake's already in the chat saying, gotta say, I was never that big of a Michael Penix fan. Easy, Drake. Easy. It's 1 week. We'll dig into it. We'll dig into Michael Penix and so much else. If you guys want to see all of the PFF grades, the data points, everything that we're going to talk about here on the show, PFF Plus subscription is how you do that. PFF NFL Show 25. No spaces, all one word. That's the promo code for you to get 25% off a PFF sub. Now, obviously, that's not just something that you get during the season. It's the off-season stuff as well, all the draft season stuff, free agency. When you're coming back around next summer, if you're a fantasy football player, and even this year, obviously, if you're in fantasy football mode. If you started out the season, if you're 2-1, if you're 3-0, you want to keep it going, the best way to keep your foot on the gas pedal for fantasy season is with that PFF Plus subscription. So PFF NFL Show 25. That's how you get 25% off that PFF sub. Okay, let's start up with Sunday Night Football, because I know we got a lot to talk about with the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, the Chiefs get off the schneid. They get a win here. They're 1-2 on the season. The Giants, they fall to 0-3. What are we going to talk about here with both of these teams? But because the Kansas City Chiefs won this game 22-9, let's take a look at the top 5 graded players from the Chiefs here to kick us off. Safety, Christian Roland Wallace with an interception in this one. Top of the list here with a 91.4. Edge rusher George Karlaftis with a 90.4 as well. Linebacker Drew Tranquill, an 89.4. Offensive guard Trey Smith with an 82.0. Cornerback Jalen Watson with an 81.2. And then Patrick Mahomes in this one, a 58.5. Just not the best start to the season, of course, for Patrick Mahomes. But, hey, was able to get a win this past week. For the Giants, edge rusher Brian Burns, an 89.7. Running back Cam Scatterbo with an 82.9. Offensive tackle Andrew Thomas, a 77.2. Edge rusher Kayvon Thibodeau, a 70.7. And then safety Javon Holland with a 69.3. Russell Wilson, this one, a 47.0. Dalton, as I always do, I'll ask you to start things out with the stat that told the story. What do we got?
I think this game was so much more about the Giants than it was about the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are the same team that we saw the first 2 weeks, and this time the Giants were just not as good an opponent as they saw with the Chargers and the Eagles the first couple of weeks. Russell Wilson, at this point, in the games where the deep ball is there and he has it and he can sling the moon ball, this looks a lot like, last year with the Steelers. In those games, like he had it last week with Dallas, when those guys were open, it's going to look really good. In a game like this, where the Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo were sitting back and just not allowing him to take free shots down the field, it's going to look a lot more like that stretch last year with Pittsburgh at the end of the season, where they scored 17 or less in their last 5 games. It's just nothing there for Russell downfield. 10-plus yard throws, 43 passing grade, 2 for 7, 40 yards, 2 interceptions, 3 turnover-worthy plays. You take that away from Russell Wilson, at this point, he's just not willing to dink and dunk his way down the field in the same way that Patrick Mahomes is. And I think that just has to be the blueprint. I think what Russ's success last week against Dallas tells you is a lot more about Dallas than the Giants.
Yeah.
This tells you, with Russell Wilson, we've seen now in 2 out of 3 weeks, the offensive line obviously isn't great in pass protection. They were okay in this game, passable, but they're never going to be great in pass protection. But if he just doesn't have those windows downfield and you sit in those 2 high shells and you make the Giants beat you running the ball and beat you 5 yards at a time in the passing game, they're not going to score very many points. They scored 7 in week 1. They scored 9 in this game. There's obviously a lot of issues with the Giants and their offense, but it starts with this. If the home runs aren't there, they just have no other way to score. And the Chiefs secondary is too good to just allow those deep shots like that constantly.
Yeah, we talked about how they constructed this team to hit the deep shots, and I think that it was good. Okay, the receivers and their skill sets are married up with the quarterbacks that you have, which is sort of married up with the run game. Now, the offensive line wasn't there the way that it needed to be without Andrew Thomas, who it was good to see him play this week. But I at least like the strategy and the idea that they had going into the season. It wasn't just all over the place with their roster. But it is 2 boom or bust right now. Now, I will say, I actually looked up this exact thing because I wondered if the numbers were really poor from the Giants from, like 5 yards of an average depth of target to 15, like right in that range. They're really not. They're fine. They're just not hitting them enough. And I think it's because they're not attempting them nearly enough. So, like, the numbers are good. The PFF passing grade is good. The EPA per play is good. But it's just not a major part of what they want to do on offense. They want to push it a little bit deeper than that. And so I still think the intermediate passing game is an issue for them, especially because my stat that told the story is how they were on 3rd down this past game. 1 for 10. I mean, you're almost never going to win football games when you're 1 for 10 on 3rd down. That's just, it's never going to get it done. Only 3 of those 3rd down attempts that they had were under 6 yards. So 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4. They didn't even have any 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1s. It was basically 3rd and 6 and longer, which is never where you want to be. Their average 3rd down distance this year is 7.4. That's bottom 10 in the NFL. The average is 7.1. So clearly, like, whether it's the run game, which I think that they're trying to establish whatever their run game identity is going to be, that as well as not being comfortable with sort of those dink and dunk throws is putting them in a lot of 3rd and long situations. And I think they feel like they might have an answer for that because they like to throw the ball deep down the field, but it's just not nearly as methodical as it needs to be. And very clearly now, we've got 2 out of their 3 weeks where their offense has really struggled. And that second week against the Cowboys, sure, they scored 37, but now we're sort of stacking the storyline of the Cowboys defense, and that kind of looks like one of the bigger weak links in the NFL of the Cowboys on the defensive side of the ball. So it's hard for that to be the takeaway there for the Giants having a lot of success against the Cowboys. So that was, it just feels as though, I hate to say it like this, but it just feels like we're waiting with the Giants. It feels like we're just waiting for Jackson Dart to be the starting quarterback. And I thought we'd probably get 6 weeks, 7 weeks into the year, because I didn't think the offensive line was that great. How early do you want to throw Jackson Dart out there? But I'm even listening, to the boss man on Sunday Night Football after the game, and him and Tirico are both saying, like, you can feel the energy when that coaching staff or everybody in the organization, you ask them about Jackson Dart, how infectious how excited they get to talk about Jackson Dart. You're not going to have many more weeks where they're just going to put up with Russell Wilson, offensive line or not. I think we're getting very close to Jackson Dart territory.
No, I think week 1 was more to me about the offensive line. I think there was just some awful decision-making from Wilson in this game. The interception right before the half in the end zone where he just throws a very late jump ball up to Malik Neighbors and Jalen Watson picks it off. That's an awful decision. And then, honestly, the worst one to me, the sequence at the end, in the last 3 minutes on the front side of the 2-minute warning, and the Giants, you maybe have one last gasp to score and maybe make a stop and then score again, maybe get 2 touchdowns in a short span. First down, throws it out of the back of the end zone, intentional grounding. Second down, I didn't understand the play call at all. Second and goal from the 14, a quarterback draw with Wilson.
Yeah.
Third down, throws it out the back of the end zone. Fourth down, under pressure, throws it out the back of the end zone. Like, even the situational awareness from Russell Wilson in this game was so much worse than what we're used to seeing. This game, to me, was the first game, week 1 against the Commanders, they got blown up in the offensive line so bad that they couldn't function. I didn't feel that in this game. I think there were moments where it wasn't great, but I didn't feel like they were so bad that it blew the whole game. This game, I thought Russell Wilson's decision-making was just way, way out of line consistently throughout.
You look at their schedule, and you'll go, okay, when could they play Jackson Dart? They're at home this week against the Chargers. Chargers are kind of a wagon right now. We'll get to the Chargers in their game in a little bit, but you could play them against the Chargers, and I think that could be okay. You then travel on the road, but you're playing the Saints. The Saints are next. After those 2 weeks, you go Eagles, Broncos, Eagles. Yikes.
I mean, but I mean, at this point, they're already 0-3. Is the idea that you're trying to win these games? Is the idea that you're trying to just have
I think the idea for me is that you're not sending Jackson Dart out there for Eagles, Broncos, Eagles as his first 3 games in the NFL.
He's got to get thrown to the wolves at some point.
But that's why I would say you might as well make the change now. Right. You might as well go to him now. Give him the game at home against the Chargers. You're probably not going to win, but it's a game at home. Then let him play competitively, maybe get a win against the Saints, and then you got a murderer's row. Okay, see what happens.
Yeah, no, I think I'm more with you on this than ever now, because the way Russ played last night, I think there were moments that were just inexcusable on his part. I think there is a chance they go to Dart this week.
Mm-hmm.
I really, I'm with it. I think the original plan was to get through this stretch, week 7 or 8, somewhere in there. I think there's a real chance we could hear an announce. It would not shock me if tomorrow something got announced about Jackson Dart, because this was just so bad on Wilson's part in this game. And you're playing a team next week in the Chargers that prevents deep balls better than anybody in the league.
Yeah, for sure.
Then if he can't operate underneath, and you're going to go out there and with Russ knowing you're going to lose 27-3 or something, then yeah, just put Dart in there and see what he does, because at least he's more mobile, and maybe, just maybe, it gives you a shot underneath to win.
You're most impressive, because my most impressive and disappointing are for the Chiefs. I know that you're going to talk about the Giants here to wrap this up.
I'm going to stay on the Giants side. I think by far their best player was Cam Skattebo. And
RB3, baby. RB3.
Once they started,
the PFF big board doesn't forget.
It never does. I mean, you just watch him, and despite all the 40-time nonsense, he's just a darn good football player. If there's one psychopath on a football field that thinks he has more aura than Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, it's Cam Skattebo. And he played like it anyway. 78 rushing grade, 86 receiving grade, 6 catches, 61 yards, broke 5 tackles on the ground, scored their only touchdown. I know you like Tyrone Tracy. I think Cam's probably the best back in this backfield.
Oh, I would agree.
And Devin Singletary, love him, FAU legend. He's a little bit older than the other two. He just doesn't give you enough juice in the backfield. Or honestly, I'm not sure why he's returning kicks, because he's never returned kicks, Devin Singletary. But Tracy obviously has value. Skattebo showed you he's a horse, especially in this game against this team. He was, to me, for the Giants especially, he was by far the best player on the field. He was their only offensive threat all night.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, because they couldn't connect with Malik Neighbors, which
right.
I think leads to the frustration of why you might, because that's another part of this is like, if Neighbors is, I'm not saying he is, but if Neighbors is like mentally checking out because he doesn't believe in Russ anymore, that's also a sign that, okay, we might as well just get Dart in there and see what we got there. My most impressive, I'll just go with my most impressive first. I want to be honest, it's the Mahomes fumbled recovery. That is the most impressive thing that I saw in this game. 100%, because Patrick Mahomes is willing this team to win.
Yep.
And that is a manifestation of that play. The last 3 weeks, if they have told me anything about the Kansas City Chiefs, is that they are not the Kansas City Chiefs that they were at the beginning of the dynasty, and that Mahomes is willing this team to win. Yes, it was his fault that he threw the ball backwards, but the second he did, he immediately started sprinting towards the ball. Bobby Okereke had that sucker in his hand, and you got to understand, that was...
It's a tie game at that point, wasn't it?
That was 6-6 at that point. if they would have recovered the football, it would have been within the 10. If the Giants score a touchdown there, the game could have very well been different. Even if, because there was enough time left on the clock where if they score a quick touchdown, Mahomes could have got it back. They still could have got a field goal. It could have been, 9-13 then at that point, I think. So, sure, the Chiefs could have won this game in the end, but it's that play specifically where Mahomes is literally looking at a not ideal start to this season for the Chiefs, and he's just doing quite literally everything in his power to will this team to a victory.
Yeah,
so to me, that was the most impressive thing that I saw all night.
And willing a team that offensively is still playing very bad football.
Yes.
They are hurting so bad for any sort of efficiency on offense. And if Okereke does scoop that and score, and it's 13-6 Giants, I think it's a very good chance the Giants do win that game. The way Scatterbo was running the ball,
you can lean on him a lot more.
The defensive line was still getting after it. Mahomes struggled in this game. He still struggled in this game. 53.8 passing grade, 4 turnover-worthy plays, including that one. It is a struggle for the Chiefs. I personally think the Giants lost this game more than the Chiefs won it, but that play right there, you look at the potential tip of the scales and the opportunity cost of the Giants not recovering that is a huge difference.
Last thing for me, most disappointing is the Chiefs' run game, and it's not the fact that they're not running the ball well. 3 weeks into the season, they are 5th in the NFL in total team rushing grade at a 75.3. They just don't run it. They're 24th in total rushing attempts this season at just 75 on the year. So I understand they don't have the most dynamic running back room in the NFL, but to me, they've got to stay more balanced. And maybe it's just a matter of not wanting to take the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hand. I can understand that, but to me, like, they're running the ball fine right now, and they don't have the attempts to echo that.
Yeah, see, the problem is not really, because what's holding up that rushing grade is Mahomes with an 88 and the scrambling.
That might be fair. That might be fair.
Pacheco and Hunt are really not giving them. They're both at about 3.5 yards.
Pacheco had 4.5 yards per carry last night, though, and that was the whole reason why I started to look it up, is because they just didn't give him the football.
Right. Well, last night that may be the case because you're in an ugly, lower scoring game. And you can't let that pass rush pin their ears back all the time. But as far as the rushing grade, I mean, basically Mahomes has been by far their best. He's their leading rusher still through 3 weeks.
Which is not ideal.
Not ideal
Which
at all.
Which is not ideal. Yeah. You're right. That's a good call out. I didn't factor out the quarterback when I looked up the rushing grade. So that is a good point there. Although I do, again, the whole reason why I looked it up is because I felt like Pacheco was actually being somewhat effective last night, and they still didn't want to lean into him. So that the point might still stand of, hey, when it is working and the games that it is, I feel like they've got to give themselves the freedom to be able to lean into it a little bit more. The Los Angeles Rams, I almost called them the St. Louis Rams. They're the Los Angeles Rams now. Traveled to the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles took away a thrilling victory of 33-26. Philly's top 5 graded players here that we have on the day. Linebacker Zach Bond at the very top of the list with an elite 90.3 overall grade. Wide receiver A.J. Brown with an 82.0. Thanks to one of the most impressive weight room yelling second halves you will ever see from a wide receiver. Defensive tackle Jordan Davis, the play of the game, blocking the field goal, returning it for a touchdown at the end of the game, 81-7. Defensive tackle Moro Ojomo with an 80.8. Linebacker Jihad Campbell with a 76.1. Quarterback Jalen Hurts in this one, a 73.0. On the Rams side of things, their cornerback Quentin Lake is at the top of their list with a 91.2. Defensive tackle Poona Ford an 85.5. Wide receiver Puka Nacua an 83.8. Jared Verse, their pass rusher, an 81.5. Running back Kyron Williams with an 80.0. And then Matthew Stafford in this game, a 69.2. Stat that told the story, Dalton.
Honestly, it's two block field goals. Obviously, the Jordan Davis one is going to live forever. That highlight and him scoring that touchdown. It hit, 18.5 miles per hour on that play for Jordan Davis. I mean, if there's anybody nobody has ever wanted to score a touchdown more than Jordan Davis on that play. But I think it just comes down to, you look at yes, we can break down the anatomy of the comeback. It was 26-7. A.J. Brown was absolutely heroic in the second half as well. They made enough stops, but at the end of the day, the Rams had one field goal in the fourth quarter that, if it's not blocked by Jalen Carter, would have put him up 8, and then you feel pretty good about where you're at, right? And then Stafford, they drove down for the game winner, and Jordan Davis blocked. I got to wonder when's the last time a team had 2 blocked field goals in one game, right? I just think this Eagles team right now, and it's ever since early last year after their bye week. They're just feeling the magic. I mean, you look since week 5 of last season, they've lost one game. And that's when Jalen Hurts got hurt and Kenny Pickett, right. That was Kenny Pickett against the Commanders. And even that took Jaden Daniels winning as the clock expired, right? I mean, you're just talking about this team understands that at any point they're never out of a football game. I mean, if you're going to beat them, you have to beat them 26-7. It almost has to stay there the entire way because and the Rams, you look at even their highest graded players, all their best players played well. Stafford was good enough to win. Nakua's great. Verse, Poona Ford. This game is the entire reason they signed Poona Ford. And honestly, they stopped the run pretty well throughout this game. The Eagles they have that just championship pedigree now where they're going to find in any of the 3 phases, and in this game is really all 3 of the phases, they're going to find a way to win the game. They have that.
They have the highest floor of any team in the NFL.
Absolutely.
And it is not even close. You know, it's funny that you kind of talk about them that way. Did you see the clip afterwards of Jalen Hurts' reaction for the block punt?
Stone cold, like always.
It is as if, like, nothing was going on. And a lot of people are watching that clip, and they're like, this man's like a psychopath. He's crazy. That's why the Eagles do this. That's why they've won, what is it, like 19 out of their last 20 or something, like whatever it was, like something close. That is why. That's why. Because their quarterback and the leader of their team and their offense is as even-keeled as humanly possible. There is nothing that rattles that dude. And obviously it looks funny when you have a game-sealing blocked field goal and he's showing no emotion. But genuinely, like that is how they are never out of any game. That's how they come back in this game because it's just on to the next series, on to the next throw, on to the next play. So Philly, for as much as we might, nitpick, and I really do think it's nitpicking with how good this team is, the ceiling of what they might be every single week, this team has one of the highest floors of any team that we've watched over a long, long time, given the winning streak that they have, given the fact I don't even know if I can really say this, but I'm tempted to say, like, the Rams were the better team in this game.
For the most part, yeah.
They held the Eagles to 3 plays or less on 6 straight drives. I'm not even talking about the Rams on offense. I'm not even talking about Stafford or Nakua or Devontae Adams or Kyren Williams. I'm not even talking about them. Their defense held the Eagles to 3 or fewer plays on 6 straight drives in this game. And they lost. And it's just a hat tip of just what a wagon this Eagles team is.
And I think it gives you an idea because we've seen this from other teams the last couple of years now. The Rams have now lost 3 in a row to this Eagles team the last 2 years. The Commanders are right in the NFC title game. It just goes to just represent in the NFC, no matter how good the Packers are, no matter how good the Rams or the Vikings or the Commanders or Tampa or whoever else. And I know the Bucs have beaten them a couple of times recently, but this is the hurdle you have to get over. If you're the Rams at this point, after this game, especially last year they couldn't stop the run, Saquon got him. After this game now...
Yeah, but even I've even said, like, in that playoff game, if that's not a snow game, I think that game is different.
Agreed.
I genuinely think the Rams could have beaten them last year.
And at this point, and the Rams do have some offensive line issues, but at this point for the Rams, beating this team is mental.
Yes.
It's just going to be the hurdle. The Rams are really darn good. The D-line is one of the best in the league. The receiving core, Stafford still got it. Their offensive line needs some work. They got to get healthy in there. And again, just like last year, that's the one Achilles heel in a football sense. But against this team, who's the final hurdle before getting to a Super Bowl, now it's mental. Yeah. I really think so. The snow game is what it is, and they were ahead in that game. They were well ahead in this game. Most teams, you're up 26-7. You're on cruise control.
Right.
It just didn't happen. It just represents to me any team, you have to find a way to beat this team head-to-head, just like it is generally with Kansas City in the AFC.
The Eagles are Alabama, in my opinion.
Yep.
They really are, where you have to get over the mental hurdle of beating Alabama before you line up. And that's how I feel about the Philadelphia Eagles now. You have to get over the mental hurdle or the game's already lost before it gets kicked off. You're most impressive and disappointing in this one.
Look, give me Jordan Davis. Man, I mean, not just the blocked field goal and returning it and running 18.5 miles an hour at his size, but a 78 run defense grade, 7 positive grades in run defense. And you know what might be more impressive than the speed on the touchdown? Did you see the chase down sack that he had on Stafford? And Stafford had the angle to get to. I mean, 3rd and 2. I think it's 3rd and 2. Matt Stafford has the angle to get to the sticks, and Jordan Davis runs him down all the way to the sideline for a sack to get a 3rd down stop. He looks fantastic. And I mean, honestly, even though Milton Williams left, this is still probably the best group of defensive tackles in the league. And then, like I mentioned, on both sides of the ball, and the Eagles have maybe an injury situation with Lane Johnson, but I look at both sides of the ball, the interior of these two offensive lines, they got massacred in this game. The Eagles with a 54.1 grade from their interior 3. The Rams with a 41.6. They're the more concerning one to me, because even through this start, and they're 2-1 and they've looked good, they should have been 3-0 if they, if you ask them with this game. Their offensive line is still the biggest problem. It's the biggest weakness on this team. I think with Stafford and the veteran presence he is, do you need the best O-line in the league? No, but this team's got to. This offensive line at least has to start playing average football for the Rams.
I think the stat that told the story, which could be most disappointing for the Rams, is 1 for 4 in the red zone. You settle for field goals twice. 2 of them get blocked. So converting those obviously allows you to put this game away a little bit more. You don't think that 2 of those field goals are going to get blocked, but it is what it is. That goes into red zone success. Anytime you're kicking a field goal, you never know what's going to happen, whether it's a miss, whether it's a block, whatever that is. So I think that was sort of disappointing from the Rams. They'll look back and make sure that they want to finish those with touchdowns more often, as any team would. And I'll tell you, most impressive to me is Zach Bond, man. I was just having this conversation. Well, I think we were talking about it yesterday when we were all watching the games together. Fred Warner makes a great play for the San Francisco 49ers, and we just go, man, does Fred Warner hold the biggest gap between the number 1 player at any position in the NFL and whoever number 2 is? Does Fred Warner have the biggest space between him and number 2? And I think the answer is yes. Zach Bond's closing the gap,
putting up a fight, man.
He really is. And I know that Fred Warner's been doing it at an elite level for longer, but we're stacking back-to-back seasons now. Bond, very clearly the player that he was last year, just in another year in that system, and he's been unbelievable. So if he continues to play like this, that gap is going to get closer and closer and closer, where you're going to have to talk about both of these guys as the best linebackers in the NFL. Before we move on to the next game, Game Time. It's the best place to score tickets for NFL or college football games. Game Time is hands down the easiest way that we have found to get sports tickets. How many block field goals do we have this week?
There was at least 4 that I can remember, plus a block punt.
Can you imagine being in the stands for that? If you are a fan of those teams, even if you're on the road, just that is why you go to games in person. Truly. Like, for those moments, and there were so many of them this past weekend, getting into the game has never been easier, thanks to our friends at Game Time. You know the total up front, no surprise fees at checkout. You save even more when you choose a section. Let the Game Time choose the seats for you. You can get a panoramic view from the seats in the app before you even buy it. Legit tickets, delivered on time. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app. Use the promo code PFF20. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase. That's Game Time. Amazing deals. No hassles. The Cincinnati Bengals traveled to the Minnesota Vikings. Whew. We have one that
they kind of wish they hadn't.
I know for sure we have to cover as the highest graded player in PFF history in a single game?
At least tied. I don't remember. We'd have to do some research, see if there's anybody else.
It's at least tied.
I highly, highly doubt there's anybody. I don't think there's anybody else who's ever done it. I'm pretty sure of it.
I don't think there is. And that's the man who is at the very top of the Minnesota Vikings top 5 list, cornerback Isaiah Rodgers, with, folks, that is not a typo, a 99.9. Now, I tweeted out that he was having an unbelievable game and that in the first half he had a 99.9 because, what was it, an interception return for a touchdown, a forced fumble that he recovered, and then returned for another touchdown. And then he had another forced fumble, just some of those impactful plays in the game, which has been unbelievable. I just got to say, you loved this signing for the Minnesota Vikings before the season, but I can't say that you predicted a 99.
I can't take credit for perfection. That's for sure. The only thing I think of is I go, maybe Philadelphia should have thought about keeping this guy as their number 2.
Yeah, anytime you got a guy you let out of the building who was capable of a 99.9, obviously you might have a little bit of second thoughts there. Anyways, back to the top 5 that we had for Minnesota. Number 2 on the list is safety Theo Jackson with a 91.5. Edge rusher Jonathan Grenard a 90.8. Defensive tackle Jalen Redmond with an 89.8. Tight end TJ Hawkinson an 86.8. And then Carson Wentz in this game, who was starting for J.J. McCarthy, a 61.4. On Cincinnati's side of things, edge rusher Myles Murphy, top of their list with a 71.8. Offensive tackle Amarius Mims with a 70.7. Edge rusher Joseph Osai with a 70.3. Wide receiver Jamar Chase with a 66.4. Offensive guard Dalton Reisner a 60.2. And then Jake Browning a 64.7. Dalton, anytime we're doing a top 5 list and there is somebody on the list who makes it with a 60.2, you did not have a good day at the office as a team.
Not a great day, especially offensively. And, I came into this game thinking that Brian Flores maybe had an advantage over Jake Browning. He's a tough DC to go against. Obviously, the Bengals still have weapons. Apparently, the advantage was massive. Bengals, minus 0.807 EPA per play in this game. The worst by any team since Week 9 of 2023, when the Arizona Cardinals, with Clayton Tune as their quarterback,
shout out,
played the Cleveland Browns and lost 27-0. The worst EPA per play since the Clayton Tune Cardinals against Myles Garrett in the Browns. That's how bad this Bengals offense
I would have been
was.
curious as to, if you take that game out, how far back you got to go. Because I'm actually surprised that it happened as recently as 2023. Because negative 0.807 is low,
I thought I was going to have to go back further, but that game obviously jumps at Myles Garrett against Clayton Tune's a tough matchup for sure. But, yeah. 5 turnovers. They had 5 turnovers and 5 explosive plays. I mean, you had as many turnovers as explosive plays, 7 negative plays. It's not really any other way to say it. It was the biggest loss in Bengals history. They've never lost by 38 points in a game. So, and offensively, now, it can't get any worse than that, I think, considering what the Vikings did on defense. But this is the fear with Jake Browning as the quarterback and the offensive line being an absolute mess that it is, and basically a team that doesn't have a lot of dimensions and paths to winning games. This is the fear for the Bengals, is that if it's not this bad, it could be something close to this bad on a weekly basis. It's obviously not good, and that's just the Bengals. I mean, you turn the ball over 5 times, you're going to lose, and sometimes you're going to lose like this.
Yeah. I mean, the stat that told the story is very simple. 5 fumbles, 3 lost fumbles. I mean, that's it. I went back and I watched Browning's all 22. I watched all of his throws. It's not horrendous. Like, he's fine.
It's Jake Browning.
It's Jake Browning. It's what you would think. Like, is he Joe Burrow? Obviously, he's not Joe Burrow. But Jake Browning was fine in this game, all things considered. Was the run game good? No, they could have been better running the football. And the Bengals' offensive line, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a couple of minutes here, like, that's still an issue for this team. But genuinely, you can't fumble the ball 5 times and lose it 3 times. And you certainly can't have an interception go back for a touchdown, one of those fumble recoveries go back for a touchdown. I mean, you're not going to win the football game. You're just never going to win. So that has to be the stat that told the story here. The Bengals' offensive line, 13 pressures allowed. It's not getting any better, Dalton. 13 pressures allowed, 41.7 run blocking grade, 42.0 pass blocking grade. Orlando Brown Jr. even, who, when we talk about the Bengals offensive line, we always just talk about the interior, right? Oh, they got to get the interior right, okay? They've got to get the right 3 out there. They've got to all play together. Orlando Brown Jr. is supposed to be the guy who they don't have to worry about at all. 26.5 pass blocking grade in this one. Amarius Mims was their only offensive lineman who graded above a 70. You saw Dalton Reisner was number 5 on that list with a 60.2. And they just signed him, a couple weeks ago?
Yep.
So that's the biggest issue for the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, of course, like, Joe Burrow is hurt. That's the overarching theme. That's underneath the umbrella. But this offensive line is a massive issue, whether it's here in 2025 or moving forward. They might have to do what the Patriots did this past offseason, where the Patriots are just like, nope, 4 or 5 completely new offensive line starters. Now, Amarius Mims is probably going to be there, so it's not obviously going to be all 5. But they might need 3 new offensive line starters going into next season.
Yeah.
And anything less than that might be viewed as a failure for how this team is playing.
I would agree. I mean, you're going to get Mims and Fairchild coming back, and hopefully Fairchild can just make it through this rookie season without any sort of confidence being shattered. But, I mean, this has been the theme. 4 of the last 5 years, they've had a bottom 5 offensive line in our grading, and I already know this season they're in the bottom 5. I'm just checking right now to see if they're the number 1 worst one. Because
I got another stat for you while you're looking that up.
Feel free, yeah.
So Gordon McGinnis, our content director, sent this to us this morning. We talk about pass protection with the Bengals offensive line. They can't run block either. 37.4 PFF run blocking grade as a team through 3 weeks. That's the second lowest that we have charted since the 2006 Lions at a 34.5. So through 3 weeks, they are not just the worst run blocking unit in the NFL. They're the second worst that we have ever charted through the first 3 weeks of an NFL season.
And they are the lowest graded offensive line and obviously have the lowest run blocking grade in the league. I mean, there's no answers. It's just, well, hope you get the ball to Jamar and T enough times.
Well, the people are saying trade for Jameis because Jameis and how he's going to throw the ball 40, 50 yards down the field, that's offensive line proof because he's going to do that within the first 2.5 seconds anyways. It doesn't really matter whether they're blocking or not.
I don't know if I'd call it offensive line proof. I mean, but he's going to push it downfield more than Jake Browning, but it does. Look, at the end of the day, if your offensive line is this bad, there's nothing that's offensive line proof. You're seeing it in Cincinnati. You're seeing it in Houston. You're seeing it in Miami. This is just what you get. You see it in Cleveland. If your offensive line is this bad, this is what your offense is going to look like.
Yep.
And especially now you don't have Joe Burrow to be lightning quick with the processing and sometimes bail you out. Even if Burrow was in there, you don't feel like this team could have maybe they make the playoffs. Maybe they scratch their way to 9 or 10 wins because Joe Burrow's just that good. Now, I mean, yeah, they started 2-0, but again, at what cost? And this is where we're at. And we've talked about this everybody's talked about this for 5, 6, 7 years now with the Bengals offensive line. They just, same story.
They're not good enough.
It just repeats.
Yep. Most impressive, obviously, it's Isaiah Rodgers.
Yep.
You want to say anything more about it?
I mean, just perfection. I mean, we've never seen it.
People in the chat are like, "Oh, you couldn't give him 100." We don't. It doesn't go up to 100. 99.9 is the highest that it goes. So
if we could, honestly, if it was in there, we would. I mean, you don't just go with 2 forced fumbles. He outscored the Bengals by himself. Think about it. I mean,
I didn't even think of that.
He outscored the Bengals by himself.
No.
I mean, and a pass breakup on T. Higgins on a potential touchdown. I mean, just as great a football game as you're ever going to see played. Simply, I mean, by our scale, perfection. There's not much else you can say about it, really. I don't know the next time that we'll see that again.
I was impressed by the Vikings tight end passing game, which I really liked in this game. 6 catches, 61 receiving yards. Both the tight ends had touchdowns in this one, TJ Hockenson and Josh Oliver. 1.239 EPA per pass to tight ends, which is a very, very high mark. So very efficient throwing the ball to the tight ends, multiple tight ends that they obviously have in this offense. So I know we talk about the wide receivers and Justin Jefferson and everything like that, but a really potent tight end passing game when they want to lean into it. And I think that's going to come in handy whether it's Carson Wentz or J.J. McCarthy moving forward. So was impressed by the Vikings tight end passing game in a game that there's just not a lot of takeaways. When you have those kinds of dominant plays on the defense side of the ball that go back for touchdowns, it really just sort of ceases to become a competitive football game. So the thing that I took away the most that could actually be something constructive moving forward is how the Vikings were leaning into their tight ends and how it was very fruitful for them to do that. Raiders and the Commanders. The Commanders won this game 41-24. I thought this game was going to be a lot closer. Kind of a coin flip game, especially with Marcus Mariota starting instead of Jaden Daniels, but man, did they put it on him. Washington's top 5 graded players that we had in this game. Defensive tackle Deron Payne with a 90.6. Offensive guard Chris Paul an 85.4. Edge rusher Von Miller an 80.1. Wide receiver Terry McLaurin a 77.6. And then linebacker Bobby Wagner rounding things out at number 5 with a 76.5. Marcus Mariota in this one, the second highest graded player for the Commanders at an 85.7. On the Raiders side of things, wide receiver Trey Tucker was their top graded player with, what did he have? Like 8 catches, like 145 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
It's just unbelievable day from Trey Tucker. I saw former PFF great Ian Hartitz. He's still a great. He's just not working for PFF anymore. Said basically the quietest 8-45 and 3 touchdowns game you'll ever see in your life from Trey Tucker there.
I'm sure there's one sicko somewhere out there that played him in fantasy.
Absolutely. 100%.
One person
100%.
has to be out there that did it.
Tight end Brock Bowers next on the list with an 84.0. Offensive tackle Colton Miller a 74.2. Cornerback Jonah Laiulu with a 72.0. Defensive tackle Thomas Booker with a 70.9. And then Geno Smith An 84.2. Anytime Geno has an 84.2, I figure that the Raiders are probably going to win that football game, but they did not. So why did they not win this game, Dalton?
They did not because, well, the obvious answer is they gave up 41 points, and they still have a major talent deficiency on their defense. It's that simple. 49.9 defense grade as a team in this game. Washington at 7.7 yards per play. 9 of their 11 drives went into Raider territory. Marcus Mariota was fantastic. And look, the Raiders are playing ever so slightly better defensive football because they're playing just a little more fundamentally sound than last year. But at the end of the day, when you're playing an offense like this, you need premier talent to stop it. This year, they have the 4th lowest graded defense in the NFL. They had the lowest coverage grade in the NFL last year. It's not much better this year. They only have 2 players through 3 games who have played at least 20 snaps and have at least a 70 PFF grade.
On defense?
Yes. One's
Max.
Right, and he's only at about a 72, which is below his standard.
It can't be the linebackers because they were bad this week.
It could be.
Oh, is it Jamal Adams?
It's Jamal
Okay,
Adams.
no, Jamal Adams wasn't bad this week. Yeah, so Jamal Adams, the other one.
Think about it this way. This defense through 3 games, and credit to Jamal Adams in the comeback. We've covered that a lot, and he's been great.
Yep.
Jamal Adams is by far their highest graded defensive player. That's where we're at with this Raiders defense.
All due respect.
All due respect, absolutely, position switch and all.
Yeah.
But what that says about the Raider defense, especially if Max Crosby, if it's the health, if it's the surgery he had at the end of last year, whatever. If Max Crosby's not dominant, there's not another player on this defense really capable of being dominant right now. This is what's going to happen against really good offenses. And their first 2 weeks, look, they kept them in games. The New England game, they only gave up 10. They only gave up 20 to the Chargers. They were decent in that game. But long-term over a 17-game season, you start to see the Raiders just lack talent on defense outside of Max Crosby.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Raiders' run game, which is a major issue for this team right now. I think there were a lot of debates when draft season was rolling around and the NFL draft was rolling around of like, hey, what do the Raiders do with their pick in the top 10? Do they take an offensive lineman? Do they take a skill position player? Do they take somebody on defense? And we talked a lot. If we focus on the offensive side of the ball, we talked about, okay, Ashton Genty being an option for them, certainly. And it was like, do you draft Ashton Genty or maybe do you go for an offensive lineman? And I think that our case for not going with an offensive lineman is they were pretty good last year. They weren't the best offensive line. They weren't a top 10 offensive line, but like they were getting better. They were taking steps towards being a good offensive line with some young pieces there that you could have expected to take another step this season and the Raiders just naturally being better on the offensive line. That has not happened, specifically in run blocking. This is one of the least effective run blocking units in the NFL. Genty had 17 carries for 63 rushing yards in this game. He had 1 yard before contact in this game. 1. He has negative 2 yards before contact on the season, which is 29th out of 30 eligible running backs when you get, I think the minimum snap count is like 50 or something for running backs. It's just, the offensive line is not doing Genty any favors at all whatsoever.
Right.
And I think that we need to remember that when we're criticizing Ashton Genty, that even the best backs out there is only so much they can do.
Look at Saquon Barkley.
Look at Saquon Barkley before he got to the Eagles. Yes, Saquon was able to do great things his rookie season, but then even after that rookie season, when I think the Giants just progressively got a little bit worse as a team, but you had that rookie year when he went nuclear, and then there was another year, I can't remember
the year they made the playoffs with Daniel Jones.
But even
they leaned into the run game a lot.
But his efficiency numbers were not good. He had over 1,000 yards rushing, I believe, because they just spammed him on the offense. And they just gave him so many carries. It was a volume thing. It wasn't an efficiency thing. So even the best running back in the NFL will struggle behind an offensive line that cannot block for them, especially in the way that the Raiders' offensive line can. So I want everybody just to understand this. Ashton Genty's going to be fine. He's not Trent Richardson. I think that it's crazy the people who are like, man, like he can't even produce. I think that people, when they look at how Ashton Genty's not able to produce, are thinking that the Raiders' offensive line is playing similarly to what it did last year. They're not. They're not blocking the same. It's been a rough start to the season. Can it get better? Absolutely. Should it get better? Honestly, absolutely, given what they were able to do last year. But I just think everybody needs to stop having a three game sample size with Ashton Jeanty without correctly viewing things like yards before contact averages, run blocking grades, how often they are positively and negatively grading in the run game, which of course you guys can see with the PFF Plus subscription. Get 25% off right now if you use the promo code PFF NFL Show 25. Just want to shout that out. That's how you can have the real conversation about Ashton Jeanty 3 weeks in. Don't cite the carries and the overall yards and the lack of touchdowns or whatever it is. You got the run game specifically, guys. It has to be contextual. You have to bring all the context into it. And that's the context.
And the worst part is that for the people who don't look into those sorts of things, he's going to wear it worse because he came from Boise State, and it's a Group of 5 school, and it's the Mountain West, and he just got to tee off on – no, he teed off on – Penn State and Oregon and Washington and UCF and all the other Power 5 teams that he played. So it's not that they're going to go back to, just don't ever draft a Group of 5 running back. You already know that's some of the noise. Well, Boise to the NFL's too big a jump. No, he was the best offensive player in college football last season. This isn't really a question. It's more about just you mentioned it. Jackson Powers-Johnson hasn't played the last 2 games at right guard. It's been Alex Kappa instead. They just haven't been able to run block very well. And this is a team still getting into Chip Kelly's system. As an offense, it is still just their 3rd game in this system. It's Jeanty's 3rd game in the NFL. So, no, I mean, the Raiders do right now, their offensive line, I thought it would be better than this. It seemed like last year it was better than this. They need Powers-Johnson in there. I am curious at least about still why it's Jordan Meredith at center and Powers-Johnson or Kappa for now at right guard. I mean, that's all an interesting debate, but at the end of the day, yeah, their offensive line isn't playing well enough for them to run the ball.
On the flip side, my most impressive is the Commanders' run game. Very quietly, I think quietly, because I don't think anybody's talking about them. Maybe I'm to blame for the first couple of weeks, but now I'll gladly talk about them.
I'll blame you.
They're really great. Yeah, go ahead. It's fine. I'll take it. 222 rushing yards in this game, 6.3 yards per carry average, 11 forced missed tackles as a team. We're now 3 weeks into the year. They have 2 of the top 5 single-game rushing performances on the season through 3 weeks. It was week 1 for them, and it was week 3. They had 222 rushing yards in each of those 2 games, and both of those marks are 2 of the top 5 in all of the NFL for all of the weeks. 79.6 zone rushing grade, 83.4 power man gap scheme rushing grade. This rushing attack is versatile in who they hand the ball off to, and it's versatile in what blocking scheme they operate. They are a damn good rushing team, and that's when they are going to be at their best. Jaden Daniels, that's the flashy, right? We love to talk about the passing game, what it's like when he's got the ball in his hands, all that kinds of stuff. This offense will go as they run the ball, and they are one of the best teams in the NFL running the football to start the season.
Absolutely. They were last year, and you mentioned it. That's when they're at their best, is when they have balance. And you think about, okay, without Jaden Daniels, would it affect the run game? The best part about it not having to affect the run game, his injury, is that you've really got the perfect backup quarterback for this offense specifically, and Cliff Kingsbury and the read option still being in because you have Marcus Mariota. And we've seen him play well now. He's played legitimate action in 3 games now. And Mariota's my most impressive because this is the 3rd time he's done this. He's played legitimate action in 3 games now for the Commanders. He's got a 91.9 PFF grade across those 3 games with 6 big-time throws, no turnover-worthy plays. And yes, is he less explosive than Jaden Daniels is as a runner? Sure, but Marcus Mariota is still a really good athlete. He had a fantastic game in this week. I think he was arguably their most valuable player this week. 89.9 passing grade, almost 10 yards per attempt. He's accurate. He had 2 big-time throws. The only mistake he made all day was on the one big explosive run early in the game, when he didn't slide and then he's fighting for extra yards and he fumbled. Other than that one play, he played just about a perfect game. Honestly, Mariota is the perfect backup for this offense.
Yep.
He's a veteran who's been through it. He's in his 11th season, Trev. I mean, we talked about Jameis Winston before. These guys are in their 11th season, being drafted in 2015. It's crazy.
I'm old.
Do you feel it?
I'm old,
geez.
yes.
But, I mean, Mariota just – the consummate veteran, and the best part, and I think this was the case with several guys, Carson Wentz, Mariota, there's another backup that won. I can't think off the top. Mac Jones is the other one. These backups that are winning these ball games, I think the biggest thing a coach can ask a backup to do is just go in there and be himself. Mm-hmm. And in this offense with these weapons and this run game the way it is, like you mentioned, Mariota's allowed to walk on the football field and just be himself. And that's the reason that in those 3 games where he's had to get legitimate action, He's A, played really well, and B, won all 3 games. So, I mean, to have a resource like that, to have a guy who really in this offense is one of the best backup quarterbacks in football, and to be able to walk out there and score, they had the Jalen Lane punt return, but 34 points on offense, it's just fantastic stuff. It just speaks to what Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury have built with this offense.
Dan Quinn, good football coach, man. Most disappointing for me, the Raiders linebackers. You mentioned Jamal Adams, obviously having the best season of them, but in this specific game, Jermaine Pratt and Devin White, 2 of the lowest graded players on the defense, both below 50.0 grades in this one. Pratt, 12.9% negatively graded plays versus the run. Devin White, 15.6% negatively graded plays versus the run. Obviously, anything double digits is not great. That's not what you want when it comes to how many chunk plays that you are gaining a negative grade, especially when it comes to just defending the run. So, obviously, we just talked about how great the Commanders had of a rushing day. There's always going to be a flip side for it. If the Commanders are having an elite rushing day, the Raiders players probably aren't going to grade well in run defense, and they didn't, especially at the linebacker level, so that was disappointing for me.
Yeah, no, my most disappointing, look, the Raiders, they need more help on this defensive line for Max Crosby. I was hoping Malcolm Kuntz would be a solution after he gave us a really good second half of 2023, missed all of last season, maybe is still recovering from the knee injury. 29 PFF grade in this game, 34 run defense grade. 1 official pressure, he did have a sack, but it was negated because he committed a face mask on Mariota. Malcolm Kuntz, you're hoping, or even Tyree Wilson can be better on the other side off the edge for, to help out Max Crosby a little bit on that defensive line. But again, the Raiders are just so short on top-end talent on this defense.
The Jets, your Jets.
What a ball game.
Traveled to Tampa Bay to take on my Buccaneers.
Scared you a little.
Genuinely did. And in fact, I didn't even know I needed to be scared until there were 90 seconds left in the ball game. The Bucs end up winning this game. Sorry, Jets fans, including my father-in-law. 29 to 27. Like you said, this game ended up being a barn burner down at the very end. Top 5 graded players that we had for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to kick this one off. Cornerback Jamel Dean had a big interception in this one with a 92.2. Safety Antoine Winfield Jr. next on the list with an 88.1. Edge rusher Yaya Diaby with an 86.5, and I'm going to break down exactly how he got that 86.5 here in a second. Wide receiver Emeka Ibuka, who you see just so beautifully with those jerseys there on the screen. They got to wear those things more often. They're phenomenal. 84.3. Are you a creamsicle guy?
Usually no, but I like those ones.
Okay. All right.
They've kind of modernized it a little bit.
They have. Wide receiver Sterling Shepard rounding out with a 79.1. Quarterback Baker Mayfield in this one, an 83.9. Great start to the season for him. On the other side of things for the New York Jets, linebacker Marcelino McCray Ball with a 74.6. Offensive guard Joe Tippmann with a 73.2. Linebacker Jamian Sherwood, a 72.6. Offensive guard John Simpson with a 71.7. And then wide receiver Garrett Wilson, a 70.4. Quarterback Tyrod Taylor in this one with a 62.1, playing for the injured Justin Fields. Stat that told the story here, Dalton.
I'm going to tie together stat that told the story and most disappointing here because it just kind of goes in one. The Jets' secondary is really the biggest reason they lost this game. They have not been good through 3 games this season. 30.6 coverage grade as a unit in this game. 8 missed tackles, just 1 forced incompletion, 7 explosive passes allowed to a Baker Mayfield where you think, okay, if you cover well, this Baker Mayfield-led Bucs team, they're running essentially a completely makeshift backup offensive line. If you can cover at all, your pass rush should be able to get there and disrupt the game. The Jets just can't cover right now all the way across the board. Through 3 weeks, actually only the 3rd lowest coverage grade in the league. I was expecting it to be the lowest, but it's only higher than the Commanders, and I believe Miami, I think, is the other one. And honestly, my most disappointing, the one guy who had been playing well, of course, through 2 weeks is Sauce Gardner. 30.2 coverage grade in this game, the worst of his career. Allowed 3 catches for 52 yards. Another explosive play that was negated by a holding penalty. Pass interference that was ticky-tack, to say the least. But
on Sauce?
It was a 3rd and 20.
Yeah, not a penalty.
Not a PI,
not
but
a
officially a 3rd and 29. That's another problem. I mean, so now it's the previous 2 weeks it was okay. Sauce is playing well, and everybody else kind of collapsed, especially in that Week 1 game against Pittsburgh. It was everybody this week. The Jets secondary right now. And you wouldn't think so because they have Sauce, they have Michael Carter, they signed Andre Sisco, who hasn't been great, obviously. You would think it'd be a little bit better. They spent a bunch of money on Brandon Stevens. just not been good through 3 weeks. And at the end of the day, even when they got a lead, that secondary just was not able to hold for long enough.
Yeah. I think the Bucs penalties also kept the Jets in this game. 14 penalties from the Bucs, 124 yards. Like that if you cut those penalties in half, this game maybe doesn't even get to the thrilling ending that we saw, which maybe was worth it. You know, you got to give the people, their money's worth. So maybe they don't want to take that away.
It's part of the script.
It is, right, of course, because the NFL season is already, written out by the Illuminati. The makeshift Bucs offensive line, we've talked about it plenty. They survived well enough in this game. Hat tip to Josh Griswold, the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers, who now in back-to-back weeks has really mitigated what is a major weakness on their offensive line. And it's like the Bucs are doing what the Dolphins wanted to do, sort of in theory, where they're just like, hey, we don't need the best offensive line in the world if we're getting the ball out super quickly with Tua into the playmakers' hands of guys who run, 4-3, 4-2, 40-yard dashes. And obviously it's not working in Miami, because I think that they try to make that a little bit more of a long-term plan. It's at least worked over the last 2 weeks in Tampa, which is impressive still that they went up against Houston's defensive line and the Jets' defensive line, and it was still able to work the way that it needed to. But obviously it was a close game in the end. My most impressive in this one, because I want to say my most disappointing because I want to break it down a little bit more, but Emeka Egbuka was fantastic once again in this game. Unbelievable start to the season. I don't know where they would be without him, especially when Mike Evans went out of the game with a hamstring injury. I mean, they needed this guy first to step up as a wide receiver 2 with Chris Godwin out to start the season, and then he needed to be their wide receiver 1 when Mike Evans went out in the middle of this game. 8 targets, 6 catches, 85 yards. He is third behind Tetairoa McMillan and Tyler Warren in receiving yards and receiving grade for a rookie. It's I think, offensive rookie of the year. I know Bucs fans weren't very happy with me when I tweeted out really impressive Tetairoa McMillan catch, and I just said offensive rookie of the year, because I think he's going to win it just because of volume. But it's going to be a 3-horse race between Tyler Warren, Emeka Egbuka, and Tetairoa McMillan. And obviously, my tweet did not have the context of being able to say all of those things. It's going to come down to the very end. Ultimately, I think Tet's going to win it because I expect him to play really well, and I think he'll have the volume just because he's going to get force-fed in that Carolina offense because he had another good game this week. But I just cannot take away from what an unbelievable job Emeka Egbuka has done, not only from a talent perspective, but also a preparation perspective for him to be able to step in right away as a rookie and be exactly what this team has needed him to be.
And his game at Ohio State, you could see it in all of his years there, was already so professional. You just knew he was going to be solid because of the way he approached the game and his skill set and everything that he can do on the field. Look, credit to Jason Light also for going, listen, everybody on the outside is telling me wide receiver is my biggest strength, but I'm just going to take the best football player on my board. And clearly that was the case there where Egbuka, hey, this is the best. You know what you do? You know what the draft strategy really is, Trev? It should just be on a banner everywhere. Draft good football players. It should be that simple. And Emeka Egbuka, without a doubt, at Ohio State, even though he was always number 2 at Ohio State, right? You had Marvin Harrison Jr., you had Jeremiah Smith last year. Which we'll get to later. We'll get there. Nominally at Ohio State, he was always number 2. Egbuka, I mean, just unbelievably clutch. I mean, you talk about, I always loved his concentration in tight spaces, the catches he's making in tight spaces, contested catches, the just outstanding catch on the corner route that really set up the game-winning field goal. Baker with a very, very good throw, but a little bit high that Egbuka had to haul in by the sideline. I mean, he is just so professional already. I think that's the best way you can put it. He doesn't look like a rookie at all.
No, he does not.
And really, even at Ohio State, he just constantly played like a veteran, and he made veteran plays. He's incredible. What's your new phrase you have now? It's third and Egbuka?
It's third and Egbuka.
It's just it doesn't even matter. Down and distance doesn't matter. It's just third and Egbuka.
I haven't looked up his receiving grade on third down yet, but if he continues to have third down catches next week, I will specifically look up what that is. You're most impressive. I know you want to talk about Baker. I want to talk about Olu for the Jets.
Yeah, I'm going to do 2 things here. One is Baker Mayfield, because 3 straight game-winning drives to start a season with basically no offensive line, and you're finishing this game with Egbuka and Sterling Shepard as your receivers, and they didn't run the ball well in this game because they can't block anybody, and the Jets' front 7's still okay.
Right.
Baker Mayfield just finds a way. It's unbelievable how he's another one. Oh, wow, they just blocked a field goal, and Will McDonald pulled a Cam Chancellor and jumped over the line and flipped this game upside down. And it was just, all right, I guess Baker's going to go win it for us. It's unreal. 10-plus yard throws in this game. And we just talked about they don't have any pass protection. 91.4 passing grade, completed 5 of 12 with 3 big-time throws. But the big thing is Mayfield understands is one of two things. Either get rid of the football. And on those 10-plus yard throws, he was barely over 2.7 seconds. Or, and you mentioned the difference between Mayfield and the Bucs right now and the Dolphins and Tua. One of the bigger differences is that Mayfield can improvise.
Yeah.
He can improvise, and he takes off running, and he can actually run. Unlike Tua doesn't give you that with Miami, Baker Mayfield gives you the running element, and we've seen how many times now it feels like in the past, even just 8 to 10 Bucs games, has Baker Mayfield turned something around with his legs. It's unbelievable. I mean, we saw it multiple times late in this game that, I mean, he is just – you talk about willing a team to a win, and there's 2 teams in the NFL right now who are just, look, win at all costs. Do whatever it takes to win because we have so many. It's the Bucs and it's San Francisco, and they're both 3-0, and they're winning despite a mountain of injuries. What that does for you and what that sets you up for later in the season, eventually, when you get Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin, and now Mike Evans back, and all the guys and all the offensive linemen and everything, and some guys aren't even coming back, what that does to set you up for later in the season, while the Falcons apparently are struggling, and while the Panthers are struggling, and the Saints are the Saints, I mean, you really set yourself up right in games that at certain moments, actually in all 3 moments in these first 3 games, you weren't even supposed to win.
Yeah.
And he drags you out of the grave. I mean, he's just unbelievable. We don't have a number for heart and soul, but Mayfield leads the league in it.
Obviously, I grew up just south of Tampa. I grew up rooting for the Buccaneers. It's obviously very easy for me to root for Baker Mayfield because of that. But if Baker Mayfield was doing this with any other team in the NFL, I would be rooting for him.
He's a top
so
5.
Much fun.
He's a top 5 most fun player to watch in the league.
Yeah,
no question.
I agree. Especially when they're playing well, which the Buccaneers are here at 3-0. I do want to talk about Olu Fashanu, the offensive tackle for the New York Jets, because this is a good offensive line through the first couple of weeks. They struggled this past week. Specifically, when I looked at the Grays, Olu really struggled. And Olu really struggled in pass protection, which that was his whole thing coming into the NFL. It's like, okay, he's not going to be a people mover for you in the run game, but he's going to be a smooth, athletic pass protector for you, and that's why you draft a left tackle like that. Well, in this game specifically, I thought what the Buccaneers did was a great job of scouting their opponent specifically in his weaknesses. So Olu, again, like I sort of just mentioned there, when he was coming from Penn State to the NFL, his whole thing was really quick foot speed. He's got good size to him, really good athlete, knows how to get to a landmark on his vertical and 45 sets to really be able to protect the outside shoulder, but he had the athleticism and the balance to be able to protect the inside shoulder from counters as well. The issue was dealing with power. When he would play Ohio State, when he was at Penn State, those Ohio State edge rushers, Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, those guys, they would just bull rush him straight into his chest, and that's where you really start to see him get knocked back a little bit. Well, specifically in this game, the Buccaneers, who have Hassan Reddick and Yaya Diaby, they specifically put the bigger, stronger Yaya Diaby against Olu Fashanu, and what they did was because Yaya he is an outside linebacker type of an edge rusher. He will rush from that 2-point stance, which means he doesn't have his hand on the ground. So he's more from that linebacker stance. He can rush from like a 5 technique, 6 technique, where he's sort of right outside the outside shoulder of the offensive tackle to start. But in this game specifically, they pushed him out wide a little bit longer. And it's not like this is the first time they've done this. They do this plenty, but they emphasize it in this game. And the reason why they did that is because it allowed Yaya Diaby to get not only a runway, a couple of steps into converting his speed to power when he got to where Olu was, but there were a handful of plays where Diaby started the game where he was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go to his outside shoulder. I'm just gonna try to attack him around that outside shoulder. So you're forcing Olu to really get out of his pre-snap stance and basically as fast as he can, somewhat even out of control a little bit, get to a landmark so he can protect that outside shoulder so that Yaya Diaby can't get around him and into the quarterback's lap. Well, when you do that, if you are overextending on your kick slides, well, then you don't have the balance. Then you aren't as balanced and your weight isn't distributed as properly as it needs to be. So then what happens? Then Yaya Diaby goes to the bull rush. He goes, okay, I've forced you to stretch yourself to get to a landmark to defend me when I'm rushing from that wide alignment. Now I'm going to go straight through your chest. And that game plan worked very effectively for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they turned one of the Jets' best offensive linemen into one of their biggest weaknesses in this game. And I thought it was just a great job sort of scouting by Todd Bowles and that defensive staff, utilizing Yaya Diaby himself getting in the film room and understanding how to attack Olu. And so, every now and then I'll notice sort of those exact details of chess matches. And in this game, when I went back and I was like, man, Olu did not grade well in this game, I looked at the film, and that's why. So it was another hat tip to the Buccaneers coaching staff taking advantage of them.
Certainly. I'm gonna go back to the Ibuka stat real quick for you. So he's not the leader in third down receiving grade, but he is tied with Teteroa, McMillan, and a few others so far with 6 catches on third down. Take a guess. Who's the highest graded wide receiver on third down in the entire league right now? It's kind of an interesting one that we're getting to later.
Oh, that we're getting to later?
Well, I don't know if we're getting to him specifically, but he's been really darn good, I should say, through 3 weeks.
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Nope. Good guess. You want one more?
That we're getting to later.
Maybe, sort of. I don't remember if we had him specifically written down, but he's a big piece.
Lad McConkey.
Close. Same rookie class. How about Rome Odunze?
Oh, some big catches from Rome this year. So I can believe
Rome
it.
Odunze.
I can believe it.
The highest graded third down receiver in the league so far. We'll get to the Bears later.
Okay.
Good showing from them.
Yeah, we are going to get to the Bears later. That was indeed a good showing from them. Well, okay. Before we get to the next game, the weather is turning, Dalton. It's the perfect time for grilling season, right? I mean, whether you are, just grilling for meal prep, you're tailgating for some Saturday or Sunday games, or you're just enjoying a nice evening, whatever it is, this is the weather. This is the time of the year to get out and grill a steak. I know you're a steak guy.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite cut of meat? Ribeye?
It's got to be a filet.
Okay, so you're a filet guy.
Yeah.
I think my answer would be a ribeye, but to be honest with you, I go back and forth now. Okay. I used to be exclusively ribeye, and now I'm like, you got to get a filet in there. You do.
Yeah, I mean, that's real. I don't mind a good strip, too, but usually a filet is the best one.
All right, so you're a filet guy. Okay, all right, okay. From handcrafted steaks to delicious fall favorites, folks. Omaha Steaks, it's the reason why we're talking about this here, delivers the world's best steak experience. Enjoy USDA-certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, cozy and convenient comfort meals, plus tailgating favorites like chicken wings, smash burgers, the Big Deli-style Franks, all that great stuff. And now, during the Red Hot Sales event, folks, you can get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $35 off with the promo code PFF at checkout. I was just checking out all the different packages that they have, and there were a couple that were just okay, they're based around a great ribeye, but you saying filet is perfect because I saw some of the packages where I was like, no, you see it on the screen right here, steak packages. If you click on that, you can see that there are the steak packages where you get a little bit of filet, you get a little bit of ribeye, and you get so much more. So just check it out. I mean, the convenience of having high-quality Omaha steaks on hand, it is fantastic. There's all sorts of different options. You guys can check all of those things out. Omaha Steaks offers unrivaled quality and variety, and every bite is backed by their 100% guarantee. Right now, it's the perfect time to stock up with the exceptional handcrafted flavor and convenience of Omaha Steaks. Every steak is perfectly aged to maximize the tenderness by hand-cut master butchers in America's heartland. Grass-fed, grass-finished beef that has more marbling for exceptional flavor and is the choice of steakhouses and professional chefs around the world. Also a family-owned company with over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry. Get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Red Hot Sales event. And for an extra 35% off, use the promo code PFF at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra 35% off with the promo code PFF at checkout. See the site for details. Steelers-Patriots. What an odd game this was. Steelers, for the first time in Aaron Rodgers' career, by the way, go into Foxborough, get a win. I almost call it Gillette Stadium. Is it still Gillette Stadium?
Yes.
Okay, I can never keep up with some of the, Heinz Field is Heinz Field. I think it's Acrisure Stadium or something like that. I'm just always going to call it Heinz Field. So I had to make sure. I had to I second guess myself. I was like, wait a second.
They get so locked in that that's just what
I know. Yeah. If you're the sponsor for more than 10 years, I feel like you're just the sponsor for life. That's what everybody's going to know you as. Anyways, I'm probably pissed off some sponsors there with that one. Pittsburgh wins this game 21-14. Wouldn't be the first time. Let's take a look at the top 5 graded Pittsburgh Steelers that we have here, as they did come away with the road victory. Defensive tackle Cam Hayward, the ageless one, 92.2. Safety Jabril Peppers with a 90.4. Offensive guard Isaac Sumelo with a 70.9. Cornerback Darius Slay, a 76.2. Cornerback Brandon Eccles with a 73.4. And then Aaron Rodgers in this one got the win. A win is a win. It's all that matters.
Because wins are a QB stat, right?
34.8. On New England side of things, edge rusher Harold Landry with a elite 91.6. Love to see that. Linebacker Robert Spillane to 79.1. Tight end Austin Hooper 75.1. And then tight end Hunter Henry is 71.0. Offensive tackle Morgan Moses 68.4. And then Drake May in this one, a 56.4. Dalton, stat that told the story.
Some would say the Steelers beat the Patriots. I would say the Patriots beat the Patriots.
I would agree.
This game came down to nothing more than New England beating themselves with 5 turnovers, and turnovers that very directly took points off the board for themselves and handed the Steelers most of their points as well. First drive, Ramondre Stevenson fumble leads to a Steeler touchdown. Drake May, the interception in the end zone in Pittsburgh's end zone that was just tipped a little bit by Cam Hayward. We'll get to him in a bit. That takes 7 off the board. Ramondre Stevenson fumbles about an inch before the goal line. That takes a touchdown off the board. Antonio Gibson fumbles at Pittsburgh's 43 as New England's driving in. Drake May fumbles at Pittsburgh's 39. That eventually leads to a Steeler touchdown. So think about that. 4 of the 5 turnovers in Steeler territory. 2 of them going into the end zone directly. Every other number tells you the Patriots should have won this game. You watch this game and the Patriots should have won this game, and they put themselves in an early hole with turnovers. They clawed all the way back to tie the game, and then the late turnovers put them away. You just can't. You're not going to win games with 5 turnovers.
Yep.
We said it earlier with Cincy, and they got whacked in that game. That's often what happens. New England, despite all of their mistakes, had a chance to win this game and then another chance to tie this game, and the play call and the DeMario Douglas being short of the first down marker on the route and all of that is another thing. But at the end of the day, the Pats, they got to feel like, Mike Vrabel's got to feel like they gave one away. They beat themselves.
I agree. Total yards in this game, Patriots 369, Steelers 203. Time of possession, Patriots 33 minutes, 20 seconds, Steelers 26 minutes, 40 seconds. Offensive plays, Patriots 71, Steelers 49. Fumbles, Patriots 4 fumbles, 1 loss. The Steelers 1 fumble, and they lost that as well. No, I thought the Steelers picked up that one. Maybe I read that one wrong, because I know Rodgers had the fumble that the Steelers ended up picking up. That was one of his 2 turnover-worthy plays, which, getting to Rodgers' grade, I mean, I see some people in the chat kind of talking about Aaron Rodgers' grade. I know he's your most disappointing, but when you look at Rodgers, 16 for 25, 139 passing yards, 5.6 yards per pass attempt. I mean, below 6 yards per pass attempt. 2 turnover-worthy plays, which one was the fumble, and then the other one was the interception that he had. 0 big-time throws in this one. I mean, Rodgers just didn't really do anything, and he had the 2 turnover-worthy plays, which are heavily impactful. So, I think that his overall grade, and specifically, what was the passing grade? The passing grade was
some in the 30s.
37.5. That's probably lower than what you would expect for Rodgers. But the issue is he didn't really have the plays to counterbalance 2 turnover-worthy plays. And so when you don't have that, the turnover-worthy plays are going to, you'll see some quarterbacks, I've seen before, Trevor Lawrence has had 3 turnover-worthy plays, and his PFF passing grade is still something like a 67 or whatever. And you go, well, hold on, he had 3 turnover-worthy plays. Well, it's because he also had 3 or 4 big-time throws. And so, yeah, you have both of those things, but you at least have the big-time throws to be able to counter out, or you were pushing the ball down the field, you had the yards, you had the longer completions, whatever it was. Rodgers didn't have any of that. It was short passes or turnovers. That was about it. So that's just giving people a little bit of I know people are sometimes wondering about the grades. That's how we get to Rodgers' grade being lower, is that he just didn't have a lot of throws. He didn't have a lot of completions, especially deep down the field. So when you have the turnovers on top of that, they weigh heavily because there's nothing to counterbalance them.
I find it interesting that we're going to find out this week. I personally, if I'm watching these first 3 games, the Steelers, think about how close they are to 0-3, right? The Jets, the Xavier Gibson fumble, all the blown coverages in the Jets secondary. They still needed a 60-yard Chris Boswell field goal to beat the Jets a couple weeks ago. This game, it's just New England just falling all over themselves with the turnovers. Aaron Rodgers right now, right now he's got the third worst passing grade in the league, only ahead of Bo Nix and Michael Penix. And those are other conversations. Aaron Rodgers, you just mentioned it, 16 completions in this game, Trev. 9 of them were behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
5.6 yard average depth of target. You mentioned the 2 turnover-worthy plays, 1 interception, and the interception was just awful.
He's getting hit, and he's just letting the ball go.
And under pressure, there's nothing. Honestly, watching every throw back again, Aaron Rodgers made 3 good throws in this game. There was a throw early over the middle on third down to Jonnu Smith, and then there was the 2 touchdowns, both back shoulder fades that are the usual Rodgers throws. Other than those 3 throws, he did absolutely nothing. If we're looking at Pittsburgh and the way that they've played offensively through 3 games, and right now they're the 3rd lowest graded offense as a unit in football, the bubble's going to pop. And they're going to play teams possibly next week. They're playing Minnesota in Ireland next week, which is funny because last year when the bubble popped for the Rodgers and the Jets, they went to London and they played Brian Flores and the Vikings, and he threw, I believe, 3 interceptions, and it was never the same from there. Funny kind of weird symmetry how that goes. I'm sure the NFL, the script, that's in the script too, but this offense, not just Rodgers especially, but not just him, they don't have a single player above a 71 PFF grade.
Wow.
DK Metcalf has a 70.9, and that's the highest graded player on their whole offense. The offensive tackles are bad. They can't run the ball. Aaron Rodgers, to be honest with you, there is no more fool's gold right now in the NFL than Aaron Rodgers' touchdown to interception ratio.
What is it?
Is it 6-1?
Oh, really?
It's 7-3. He threw 2 last week against Seattle.
Okay.
But even then, if you're just looking at that and you're looking at a 65% completion percentage, fantastic. Good for you. Aaron Rodgers does not look good. He doesn't. The offensive tackles don't look. Jones and Fautanu, that's a real problem. And they're not running the ball at all. I think that we're going to find out if they can go to Ireland and play well against Brian Flores in Minnesota and do all that. We just saw what the Vikings defense did to the Bengals. And for as much as you want to say it's Jake Browning, Steelers offense isn't much better. We're gonna find out next week because every underlying thing we have indicating right now says the Steelers offense, this bubble's gonna pop.
Yeah,
they are skidding by against teams like the Jets and the Patriots because those 2 teams, the Jets, again, they just don't know how to cover anybody right now, and the Patriots beat themselves in this game.
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers right now is actually, if I factor in overall grade, is the 2nd lowest graded quarterback in the league, only ahead of Bo Nix.
Man, Nick's still the lowest. Yeah, I believe it after this week, actually, because it's probably 4. No, that's 3 games from him in the 40s, right? Because did he have a 40 this week?
I think this week was like closer to 60.
Oh, was it?
It was more traffic coney this week.
Nah, we're getting back up there. He's elite.
No,
we'll talk about Bo Nix a little bit.
I'm sure we will.
I agree with you with the Steelers. It does feel as though they're feasting on opponents that not only are sort of like inferior, but just can't get out of their own way. I mean, it was the blown coverages by the Jets, and then it was just the fumbles by the Patriots this week that were their demise. Most impressive for me, I talked about the Vikings tight end passing game, Patriots tight end passing game. Hunter Henry, 73.2, Austin Hooper, 68.9, only receiving grades on the team above a 60. So it just wasn't a great overall game because a lot of the turnovers and fumbles and everything go into player grades, but at least the tight ends were playing well for the New England Patriots.
For sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of guys who, on a down-to-down basis, played well for the Patriots. It's just the big moments and the turnovers. You got to hold the football. That's it. Ramondre Stevenson had this problem last year. Now it's back with 2 in this game, right? And then Antonio Gibson comes in for Stevenson, and he fumbles, right? And then Drake May, and I know, and I'm going to get to my most impressive here. Look, age don't matter. I know he wants to be paid. Everybody wants to be paid. Cam Hayward still got it, man. I mean, you could just clearly see the impact plays because, again, the interception into the end zone, it wasn't a great throw anyway from Drake, but it did get tipped by Cam Hayward at the line. You've got the forced fumble on Stevenson on the 1-yard line from Cam Hayward. He was also fantastic in run defense throughout the game. I mean, this is the reason the Steelers can still win games, is because if one day it's TJ Watt, another day it's Alex Highsmith, another day it's Cam Hayward, another day it's Nick Herbig, one day it's going to be Derek Harmon. This defensive line is really the one redeeming quality to this Steelers team right now, I think. I mean, Cam Hayward, to still come out of games at his age as their highest graded player and the highest graded player in this game, it's just ridiculous.
Let's see. Most disappointing is the running backs. You touched on Rodgers. Anything else in this game before we move on?
Nope. New England's just got to execute better.
Colts and Titans. This game was in Tennessee. Indianapolis made it an absolute onslaught here. 41-10 was the final score. Really never in doubt from the Colts. They can't call it the perfect season anymore, unfortunately. They're not calling it the perfect season.
I didn't wear completely all black, but I should have.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to wear all black.
This is the moment of the show that feels like a funeral. Well, but you know what? The perfect season may be over. Mm-hmm. But back to Isaiah Rodgers, we will forever have the perfect game.
That's true. Yeah.
We have the perfect game.
We have the perfect game.
Isaiah Rodgers.
But the perfect season is done as the Indianapolis Colts have punted this year. Once.
They had to get Rigoberto a rep.
They punted once.
They just had to do it.
Top 5 graded players for the Indianapolis Colts as the victors in this one, 3-0 on the season. Edge rusher Leatu Latu at the top of the list with a 90.1. Cornerback Kenny Moore. Nice little pick 6 to start the game, 85.0. Wide receiver Michael Pittman with a 83.0. Wide receiver Alec Pierce, an 80.3. And then defensive tackle Grover Stewart with a 73.9. Quarterback Daniel Jones in this one, another great game from him, an 84.6. On Tennessee's side of things, defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons with a 76.6. Offensive tackle Dan Moore with a 72.1. Tight end Gunnar Helm, the rookie, 70.8. Number 3 on the list, fellow rookie Elikayo Manor, their wide receiver with a 70.5. And then tight end Chig Okonkwo with a 69.3. Quarterback Cam Ward, a 50.7 in this one. I know you want to talk about the Colts. I got to talk about the Titans here for a second. I don't think they're going to fire Brian Callahan. I think the whole idea was he needed to get a quarterback. He needed to get his quarterback, their quarterback. And the whole reason why you hired Brian Callahan as the former offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals and what they've done with Joe Burrow and everything was for this. However, they are the most undisciplined team in football right now. They had 8 penalties for 68 yards in this game. They have 30 penalties accepted through 3 weeks, which is the most in the NFL. I think their 8 or 9 dropped passes is at least top 10. It might be top 5 in the NFL for total dropped passes that they have. And then they had that abysmal end of quarter sequence where they run the ball on 3rd and 2 with less than a minute left and a half. They don't get it. The Colts call a timeout. The Titans don't don't know whether they want to go for it or not. They end up not wanting to go for it, so they send the field goal unit out there. They get a delay of game, so then it's even longer. It went from a 57-yard field goal to a 62-yard field goal. They kick it, they miss it. The Colts then immediately get into field goal range, kick a field goal, and the half. I mean, that is...
That sequence right there.
That's bad, man.
Kicking the 57-yarder is risky enough because, as far as I'm aware, the Titans don't have one of the elite kickers in the NFL. To willingly... and it's not as time was expiring in the half. There was, 50 seconds left?
42.
You just can't.
42 seconds left in the game.
You have to punt it away. I mean, again, there's certain times, and I know we're the analytics people and we're the go for it on 4th down people a lot more than many others. Certain times, punt the ball away, man. With this offense, with this Colts offense, the way that's rolling, punt the ball away and make him earn it. Yeah, well, you're not hitting a 62-yarder. The only kicker that should try that in that spot is Dallas, and even then, I might go, maybe not this time. I just don't. I don't. It's moments like that where. You mentioned Brian Callahan, and the one thing, especially with offensive coaches, you have to remember, look, he's the head coach. He doesn't just coach the quarterback. He coaches the whole team. So, yes, you're trying to develop your quarterback, and Cam Ward's the most important piece, but the penalties, the game situations, their defense, their secondary does not look good at all right now. You got to coach the whole team, and you got to look better than this, because in all 3 of their games, the Denver game, they looked more respectable, especially on defense, but you just mentioned the drop passes, too. A lot of times a focus issue and something that needs to be worked out in practice. You got to be able to coach this whole team long enough, because if you're sitting here losing every week and you're looking at a 1-win season or God forbid, 0-17 or something, because they were the team with the number 1 overall pick last year, you start to hear those questions.
It's just, yeah. I am shocked at how undisciplined the Titans are. Are they a team that's not as talented as the rest of the league, yes, but you can't be this undisciplined and even have a chance to win. By the way, the chat's letting us know that we had it wrong on the graphic. This is my bad. I input this wrong. 41-20 is the final score that we had here.
Oh, yes, they had 20.
2-10.
Yep.
What about you? Stat that told the story. Most impressive?
I mean, this Colts offense is a machine.
Truly.
Look, listen. I was in the Daniel Jones boat the whole way from the day they signed him. Mm-hmm. I thought he could function in this offense, right, and just give them something. Trev, do you know the Colts had 3 negative plays in this game, and the 3 negative plays were 3 kneel downs at the end. They basically had no plays that lost yardage.
They're calling it the perfect season.
They're calling it the perfect season. I'll trade a punt for that. I mean, seriously, no negative plays outside the 3 kneel downs and those 3 kneel downs, Anthony Richardson.
Were they? Oh, so you couldn't.
Anthony Richardson with 3 negative plays in this game.
Oh, that's not right. That's not right.
Gator grade.
That's not right. That's like the Bills putting Trubisky in for the kneel downs because they don't want to ruin Josh Allen's stats.
I know Trubisky's career yards per carry is going to get
horrendous.
It's going to be bad. But no, I mean, listen. Okay, look, it's not right, but it is accurate. 0 negative plays, 12 explosive plays, 9 of them in the passing game, almost 7 yards a play. They're one of just 3 teams in the NFL that has not given the football away this year yet, that they don't have a turnover through 3 games. Indianapolis, Buffalo, Tampa Bay. Big reason the Bucs are winning too. Tied for the fewest negative plays in the NFL with Jacksonville, the division rival. Both of them, if I take out kneel downs, the Colts only have 7 negative plays through 3 games. They don't do anything wrong. And my most impressive, of course, is Daniel Jones. Watching this game, the first 2 games, it looks like, okay, they look good. He's running things the way they're supposed to be run. This offense is high fun. I've never seen Daniel Jones look and throw the ball more confidently than he did in this football game.
Sure, yeah, I believe you.
I mean, just 78 passing grade, 76 rushing grade. He was trying his damnedest not to punt. The 1 third down scramble was just incredible. I mean, he's out there wearing number 17 running around. It looks like Josh Allen out there. But, I mean,
easy.
I know. He's leading the NFL in yards per attempt, 9.3. He's got a 1% turnover-worthy play, or only 1 turnover-worthy play through 3 games.
Yeah.
He's throwing the ball downfield. The play action's working. The RPOs are working. Tyler Warren's working. You're getting into that. Yeah. Alec Pierce down the field. Hopefully he's healthy. I know he took a hard fall on the 1 deeper. I mean, this entire offense and Daniel Jones and the ways it's legitimately a machine. This is everything that Shane Steichen wants in an offense. And for as much as an optimist as I was on this is a different level.
Yeah.
This is a whole different. They're clearly right now with this offense. They're clearly the best team in this division.
I said this last week. A lot of people will look at this situation and say like, oh, do we have another Sam Darnold on our hand? Now, obviously, Darnold did it for a full year sample size. I know it wasn't great for the final 2 weeks that he was there with Minnesota last season. But to be honest with you, Daniel Jones' numbers are better than Sam Darnold's in every category you would want them to be, right? Overall passing grade under pressure, passing grade on money down, so 3rd and 4th down, yards per attempt, average depth of target, turnover-worthy play rate, all of that. All of those numbers, Daniel Jones is better. So, yeah, as much as I sometimes hate these, like, oh, who's the next like this? And I knew that we would obviously have it with Sam Darnold. It's like, oh, who's the next cast-off quarterback that's going to play like a Pro Bowler? Which is, I feel like, is a dumb question. Jones!
And it should be said, you mentioned it with running backs earlier, like with Saquon Barkley, right? It should be, who's the next cast-off player that gets to go to a functional situation?
Sure.
Because basically the entire time that Jones was in New York, along with Saquon, those 2 guys were just trying to carry something. They were just trying to carry that team. I still remember even the year they made the playoffs, the Giants were the 4th lowest-graded team in the NFL in the regular season. They were just working around it and winning close games. This is a different, way more confident player than he ever. This is the most confident I've ever seen him play in this game.
I wonder how much this affects the upcoming quarterback conversation. Because in college football, it looks like, okay, we have some guys who maybe we like, and there's a couple guys who are sort of rising to the top of the quarterback list for the 2026 draft, but it's not overwhelming like we thought that it maybe could be.
You mean like the same thing in college? You mean like giving Carson Beck a better supporting cast? No wonder Miami looks the way they do. Sorry, college show conversation. Get with us tomorrow.
But I wonder how Darnold played last year, how Jones is playing now. You can throw Baker in there if you want to.
Absolutely.
I wonder how much that changes maybe the desperation in the quarterback conversation.
And look at it the other way. In this same division, look at what's eroding around C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, we'll get to Stroud and
again.
That's the next game we're
context,
talking about.
except for the big four guys, and even then, Burrow's hurt and Mahomes is struggling. Except for the big four guys, context is everything with all of this.
My most impressive is Tyler Warren. I mentioned how he trails only Tetrone McMillan in receiving yards and receiving grades so far this season, but he's more than just a receiver. He's a blocker as well. They continue to use him in a lot of great variety of ways. 21 snaps in line, 8 snaps as an out wide receiver, 6 snaps in the slot, 4 snaps in the backfield this past game. I mean, he's just all over the place. He is such a gem for this team. What do you what?
Sounds familiar, right? Just sounds like Penn State.
Oh, sure,
just
yeah.
Everywhere. I mean,
yes.
He's leading Jonathan Taylor's touchdown run at fullback.
Yes.
I mean, he's just fully embracing. He's been the Swiss Army knife at Penn State. He did everything. He played a snap at center for Penn State last year and caught a touchdown. I know. He's just a football player.
No, he's amazing. Most disappointing for me is Calvin Ridley. 7 targets, 1 catch, 27 yards. Had a drop in this game. He's had a couple of drops so far this season. Very clearly, Cam Ward trusts Alec Iomena more.
Which is weird because in the preseason it looked like he did trust Ridley the most out of anybody.
Well, yeah. That's why I drafted him in fantasy in multiple leagues. Not going well for me.
Tough.
But as an Alec Iomena stockholder, that is going well for
Some
me.
good hedging there.
So, yeah, that's
big time.
That's where. So, yeah, I'm disappointed in Calvin Ridley because he was supposed to be one of these leaders on the team. Young team, Calvin Ridley, one of the highest paid guys, veteran guy. He's played at a high level in this league. He was supposed to be a lot more of a steady and impactful presence for them, and he just has not been early on in this season. Most disappointing for you before we move on to the next game.
This Titans secondary struggle, and last week we pointed out L'Jarius Sneed. This time the free safety Amani Hooker, 28.8 coverage grade. It was tough. I mean, when Jones is clean in the pocket and he can just take free shots downfield, your secondary is going to have a problem.
Sticking in the AFC South, Texans at the Jaguars, 17-10. Jacksonville wins this game ugly, but ugly wins.
Are wins. And winnable games.
Go ahead.
They're only winnable if you win them.
There it is.
See that?
There it is, my friend. Top 5 graded plays that we had top 5 graded players, that we had for the Jacksonville Jaguars in this game. Edge rusher Josh Hines-Allen at the top of the list with an 87.4. Tight end Bretton Strange with an 86.2. Edge rusher Trayvon Walker a 78.7. Cornerback Jordan Lewis with a 78.1. What a game from him. Safety Antonio Johnson with a 77.5. And then quarterback Trevor Lawrence with a 66.7. On Houston side of things, defensive tackle Tim Settle at the very top of the list with a 91.1. Defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins right behind him with a 90.0. Edge rusher Will Anderson an 89.9. Cornerback Jalen Petrie an 87.8. Safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson with a 74.3. And then quarterback C.J. Stroud a 63.2. Dalton, sad that told the story.
It probably should be the fact that entire top 5 for Houston was all defensive guys, because that's really where we're at with the Texans now.
That's how it's going to be the whole season.
Yep.
Outside of Nico Collins, whenever he wants to be in there.
This team, we've talked about already for 2 weeks, they don't block well enough. They are last in the league in points through 3 weeks. They are 25th in offense grade. I'm surprised they're even that high. They're 22nd in yards per play. They're 28th in EPA per play. In this game, what it felt like is they just had no avenue to make big plays. One play in this game for the Houston Texans that gained at least 20 yards, and it was the 50-yard touchdown to Collins that Jacksonville just completely blew a coverage on. Basically, if the Texans are going to make a big play, you have to hand it to them. First down, I think, is a huge problem for this team. And again, all in the context of this is probably the worst offensive line in football, them or Cincinnati. Those, to me, are clearly the 2 worst offensive lines. This game, 4.4 yards per play on first down. If I take out that touchdown, which accounts for 50 yards, they're getting 2.4 yards per play on first down. They just can't. They can't get the engine running. Mm-hmm. This is one of the worst. We have to just say it. C.J. Stroud is their quarterback. That's true. Nico Collins, you have a number 1. But because of the line and because nobody else is stepping up, this is one of the worst offenses in football, and it's gonna stay that way.
So I watched all of CJ's dropbacks this morning, and the offensive line's not good, obviously, But there are plays where they block well enough.
Oh, he's starting to miss now. It's bad.
He's starting to miss, and he's just not confident right now.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's a Nick Caley thing with the offensive coordinator, which I think he's still learning as well. I was very critical of the goal-to-go situation that he had against the Buccaneers last week. Well, I guess that was Monday Night Football, so I guess we haven't talked about that fully on this show yet. There was that goal-to-go situation where they started on the 8-yard line. They run a slant to Nico Collins, and he gets him to the 1-yard line. And then from the shotgun, they run like a stretch run, which Vita Vea blows up. So they're still at the 1-yard line, either the 1 or the 1.5. They didn't really go back that far. Vita Vea just stopped them. They then throw sort of like this. It wasn't really a goal line fade. It was more of like a, hey, Nico, can you get to the back of the end zone? And I'm going to try to fire it out of the end zone, and you're going to kind of snag it as you're sliding out of bounds sort of a thing. That didn't work. And then it's like a rollout to CJ's left on 4th and goal. And it's like, I hated a lot of that. And then this week, so I'm watching this week. Early on in the game, there was, and I know I'm nitpicking here, but it all compounds. With the offensive line and then CJ being not as confident, like it all compounds. They're running a offset I formation, play action Yankee concept where the guy to his right is supposed to be running sort of this deep over, and the guy to his left is running like this deep post. And it's against a true cover 3. It ends up being like a cover 3 buzz where the safety's coming down and biting on the play action. But essentially, if you were running the true Yankee concept, if you guys can sort of like follow like how my hands are doing this, one wide receiver, so if you got like the 3 deep defenders here, one wide receiver is carrying this outside corner and the safety. It's this deep post where he's carrying both of them to the other side of the line of scrimmage. And then the point of a Yankee concept is then this guy is running this like deep, like over route, crossing route underneath it so that the cover 3 corner on the other side either won't follow him and then he'll be open over the middle, or he will follow him and he'll be open close to the sideline. But the route, I think it's Jalen Noel who's running it. He like stops like in the middle of the field, and then it's almost like it's a pivot route, like going back out to the outside. And it's like, in order for that to work, one, you have to have an incredible wide receiver who really knows how to like sink his hips and immediately like sell a really good whip or pivot
Jefferson
route.
Or
right, exactly. Yeah. So Noel doesn't get open, and now CJ's holding onto the ball. We're now 3 seconds into the play. There's nowhere to throw it. Those are the only 2 options to throw it to. And so like I don't love that design, especially for how long you're demanding your offensive lineman to hold on to the ball for it. And look, I know I'm a dude on a show, on an internet show after the fact, criticizing one play, but it's like there have been little examples of that, I feel like, throughout the first 3 weeks where I think Nick Caley, their offensive coordinator, is still sort of figuring out the play design and the play calling things, the rhythm of how to get a good feel for the game and call the right plays. I don't think Stroud is confident right now in this offense, because there are multiple times where I watched him, like there are guys open and he's like pump faking it, and he's like, I don't want to let go of the football. He's just not playing nearly as confidently, because the whole reason I'm bringing this up is because I think a lot of people are going to go, Stroud's trash now. He had the first year. Last year he wasn't good. This year he's not good. One, I wouldn't say the last year he wasn't good.
No,
the offensive line was not
block
good.
Anybody.
Couldn't block anybody last year. This year, still can't block anybody, and he's got a new offensive coordinator they're still figuring the chemistry out with. I watched all of Stroud's dropbacks because I wanted to come to the conclusion, do I think Stroud's fine? I think Stroud's fine. Is he playing his best? No. But I also don't think, like what we talked about before, quarterbacks in certain situations, I don't think Stroud's in a great situation right now. Basically, Nico Collins is it for him. And he just doesn't have a lot of confidence unless he's seeing Nico, liking the matchup, and letting it go. Yeah. Outside of that, it's a lot of up and down.
And there were certain games it was like that last year. I think the biggest thing you worry about with Stroud, we're in week 3 talking like this. Quarterbacks especially, it's so much about habits. Okay, Jordan Love has his habits that you see when it goes high and low, right? Trevor Lawrence, he's about as habitual a quarterback as you can get, because when things are hot and his mechanics are good, he looks great, and when it's not, he looks a little shaky, and he looks shaky through the first 3 weeks too. What I would worry about, maybe C.J. Stroud looks fine right now, I would worry about some of these habits becoming week in and week out. And by the time we get through 17 games, yes, he may have had a bad year, and then the habits physically are starting to take a toll on him, and the mechanics are getting lost, and then he's, like you mentioned, skittish to throw the ball downfield. And it should be said, look how young this offense is. First-time offensive coordinator, 2 rookie receivers that each only got 1 target in this game, a rookie at left tackle. They're super young on the offensive line. Even C.J. Stroud is only in his 3rd year. They're splitting running back time between Nick Chubb, who's pretty close to over the hill, and Woody Marks, who as a rookie, a day 3 rookie, was probably not expecting to play this much either. I mean, they're so young on this offense, and you can understand at that point why CJ only trusts Nico Collins with anything, because he's one of the best receivers in football, but he's the only guy he also has chemistry with in a new system. And they can't block anybody. There's all of these things put together, and this team on paper, again, this team on paper is arguably, front to back, the most talented team, in quotes, in this division. But because they are so young and so dysfunctional on the offensive line, you get into head-to-head matchups. Every team, 28 out of 32 teams have a solid defensive line. Now, there's so many good defensive linemen in the league, right? And look at the first 3 teams. Look at the teams they've played. Tampa probably has something closer to just a decent defensive line, and you still have Vea and Diaby and Reddick and talented guys like that. The Rams, there was no chance they were blocking. Even this game, my most impressive guys, I even have down Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker. I mean, they combined for 14 pressures, 2 sacks, both of them pass rush grades in the 70s. You're going to walk into just about every single game if you're Houston at a disadvantage, a major disadvantage up there. And now you can see the ripple effect on this whole team. They scored 38 points in 3 games.
Yeah.
They can't score.
Yeah.
And throw another quote on there. If you can't score, you can't win.
I mean, both offenses stunk in this game. Like, it's not just the Texans.
Sure.
I thought both offenses stunk in this game. Lawrence at least had some throws where he was ripping it a little bit, but one player in this game, had an offensive grade above 67. 67. I'm not even talking 70. I'm not talking 75. One player in this game, I think it was Brenton Strange. I think he was the only one who had an offensive grade above 67. 5 drops for the Jags in this game. I mean, Trevor had some throws that were really nice.
Oh,
and they're just getting dropped.
And then even just I still think he's figuring out. Him and Liam Cohen are figuring each other out. There's a big feel. I'll be honest with you, the MVP of this Jags team is their defensive coordinator, Anthony Campanile. They have the 2nd highest graded defense in the league right now.
Holy cow. Speaking of, what a signing Jordan Lewis has been.
Jordan Lewis, it's incredible. They have the 2nd best coverage grade in the league right now. They were awful last year.
I remember when they signed Jordan Lewis, I remember on our show, I was like, why? You have Jerry Jones, you have Tyson Campbell, and Jordan Lewis, not really an outside corner, more of a slot guy. Jerry Jones wasn't really great as an outside corner, so now you're taking the slot reps from Jerry Jones, you're giving him to Jordan Lewis. I thought it was just a strange signing. He was excellent in this game. His interception, I think it was I don't think it was a trap 5 play because they weren't really in that pseudo man coverage look. So I didn't think that it was like a trap 5 coverage. I think it was just he was playing the quarterback's eyes. He just read it very well, and he went and got an interception. And then also the diving forced incompletion when he was in the slot against the seam route. He's been excellent for this team. And I think, it just goes to show. Bucks, Jags, Cleveland Browns, wear your good jerseys. Good things are going to happen.
Oh, okay.
See the Jags jerseys in this game? They were the throwback.
Hot.
The throwback teal jerseys.
Yeah.
Dub. Bucks, throwback creamsicles. Dub. Cleveland Browns. Best team in the NFL comes to town. Don't matter.
What is it Deion Sanders
Dub.
always says? Look good, feel good, play good.
100%.
Play good, something else,
100%.
I forget. It's always a whole thing.
Aesthetics matter. Anyways.
I still haven't learned that lesson, but
You'll get there.
We'll
get there. I got faith in you. Okay, that's all I had. Most impressive, most disappointing.
The edge rushers dominated Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker for Jacksonville. And then the Texans, they're just, I think maybe by choice or what have you, they're just not getting enough out of this rookie class. I mean, you drafted Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. They only got one target apiece in this game. Ariante Ursary gave up 5 pressures, and he's been pressed into starting duties. Woody Marks with a 51 grade in this game. Look, they're asking a lot of these kids, but especially to me, Higgins and Noel, you got to find a way to get these guys involved. You can't just be Nico Collins and nothing else.
Okay, before we move on to the next game, this PFF betting segment brought to you by our friends over at DraftKings. We're going to pull up the PFF betting app as we sort of talk about these games. We got the Detroit Lions, Baltimore Ravens tonight on Monday Night Football. Pulling up the app that we got here. You guys can see it. So if you go to the PFF app, which you guys can download if you got an app store, and then you can see all this information if you have a PFF Plus subscription. By the way, if you don't, and you just tuned into the program, PFF NFL Show 25, they get you 25% off a PFF Plus subscription for an entire year. And obviously, you can see things like the ones that we see on the screen. So these are some of the things that we have for DraftKings. You can see the odds here. You can see the projection. The edge is basically saying, like, versus our simulation, like how likely do we think that they are going to hit this? Really, the edge is more of like the value, though. The value of where we think the number is and what the payout is for exactly what is being asked of the player. Then you can see things like cover probability, right? So under for Zay Flowers receiving yards, we think that that's a good mark there. Unders are typically better bets than overs, so you're going to see a lot of those there. Ooh, I kind of like this Sam Laporta one. The under on Sam Laporta.
Yeah, and you're
46.5.
talking about he's facing those inside guys when you're talking about Hamilton and Malachi Starks and Roquan Smith. Yeah, you feel like with this Ravens team, you want to attack them more on the outside.
I kind of like that one. Anyways, NFL season's rolling, folks. Every touchdown, it'll bring you closer to payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Every game's another chance to cash it in. Don't just watch the action. You guys can win with it. DraftKings Sportsbook delivers the unmatched intensity of the NFL right to your fingertips, from the first touchdown scored, anytime TD props, or the thrill of in-game betting. Every snap is loaded with opportunity. New customers, this one's for you, all right? Bet just $5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Your season's heating up. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code PFF. That's promo code PFF to get $200 off, or $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Plus, over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or just text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problems with gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer is for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms, and this is a limited time offer. All right, what's the next game we got here? Ooh. The fans been clamoring for this one. The folks in the chat been clamoring for this one. What do we do?
Probably a lot of Panther fans. Oh, boy.
With the Panthers putting an absolute Old Testament beatdown on the Atlanta Falcons, 30-0. Nice little home and opener for the Carolina Panthers, I will say that. Top 5 graded players that we had for Carolina in this game. Halfback Chuba Hubbard, top of the list with an 80.3. Cornerback Mike Jackson, nice little interception in this one, 79.7. Rookie safety Lathan Ransom, I told you to play him.
Good player.
I've been telling you to get him in the football game. He was excellent in this one. Had a forced fumble, 74.9 overall grade in this one. Offensive tackle Ike Ekwonu with a 73.1. Cornerback Shaw Smith-Wade, pick 6 in this one with a 71.5. Bryce Young, a 63.9. Wasn't asked to do a ton for a 30-point win. Take that. On the Atlanta side of things, defensive tackle David Onyemata, a 90.5. Defensive tackle Brandon Dorlus, an 80.9. Offensive tackle Jake Matthews, 79.3. Safety Jesse Bates III, 77.1. Offensive guard Matthew Bergeron, a 76.9. Michael Penix Jr., forgettable day at the office. 27.9. Dalton, stat that told the story.
All right, so Penix I have down as my most disappointing, and obviously a 29.3 passing grade is rough. It was an awful day from him. The 2 interceptions were really bad, 4 for 14 on 10-plus yard throws, and as I mentioned before, he has the second worst passing grade in the NFL right now. I don't think this is all on Michael Penix. I think this Falcons offense is not entirely sure of what it wants to be. I think it is right now the play calling for me is a bit vanilla. I think there is I think it's the football equivalent of tipping your pitches. Right now, the most the disturbing part to me, first and foremost, I think there's still, it feels like, running this offense, even with Penix in the game, like it's Kirk Cousins back there with a 80% recovered Achilles. Remember last year they wouldn't get under center at all?
Yes.
And it was just like they had to be in the gun or in the pistol because he couldn't move. And the Achilles. And then we kind of talked about how it kind of was like messing with the play calling. Yeah, they're still kind of running their offense like that. Through 3 games, they've only gone under center 13 times. Which for a team that wants to get down and run the football and run a Shanahan-McVay-ish kind of offense, first of all, they need to get under center more. Those 13 plays when they've gotten under center, they've run on 12 out of 13 of those plays. 1 play-action pass in the first game that was incomplete. So 92% run rate when they're under center, highest in the NFL. When they get in the shotgun, 93% pass rate when they're in the gun. There's no shotgun run game. It's not if they're in the gun, highest pass rate in the NFL. When they're in the pistol, and they use the pistol more than any team in the league by a pretty wide margin, they're more than 70% run. Also, 4th lowest play action rate in the league. For a guy in Michael Penix, who, when he was at Washington his final year, was the best play action passer in the country. You have a good O-line. You have Bijan Robinson. You have Tyler Algier. The play action game, theoretically, should work so well.
Yeah, that should be a Falcons bread and butter.
Especially with what you showed in the run game last week in dominating Minnesota on the ground.
Right.
And you have Michael Penix, who has an absolute hose, top 5 or 6 arm in football, something like that.
Yeah. Oh, Michael Penix?
Yeah.
Yes.
Lowest deep passing rate in the NFL, 4%. This offense is not at all being tailored to the players that they have and what they probably should be doing. I'll be honest with you, I think I would take at least 2/3 of what they do in the pistol. I would get under center. This team needs to get under center because there's not an ounce of deception. I really think they're I think they're tipping their pitches offensively.
Very clear with numbers like that.
You can basically just look at their pre-snap formation and know what's coming. Probably close to 90% of the time, run or pass. I don't think they're helping Michael Penix out at all. And he's just forced, and you can see it with the Panthers, and you're about to get into this with even in this game with their coverages. And I forget who for the Panthers defense. Maybe J.C. Horn mentioned Ejiro Evero just had the perfect game plan. Yeah, just sit back and watch. Just look at their pre-snap formation, and they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you what they're doing. And this game, it's not like they were in just obvious pass the entire. This game was only 10-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
You could come out the second half and run the football.
Right.
They're tipping their pitches right now. I'm telling you right now, this Falcons offense is about as predictable as any in football.
Well, I know that you want them to pass it deep, and I do too. Like, it goes into what Michael Penix does really well as a passer. I think the point about them not running play action is probably the strongest one. Obviously, tipping their pitches, like you said, is a really great observation by you. I would love to see them get play action a lot more involved because play action would do something to open things up deeper down the field. Very clearly, like whether it has been with Darnell Mooney or Drake London or Kyle Pitts or whoever it is, they're struggling to find those opportunities to really push it down the field. And I think other teams know that that's what they want to do because my stat that told the story, Panthers cap coverage over deep shots. 37 of their 45 coverage snaps had 7 defenders or more this week. That's the 3rd most in the league. They were not blitzing. They were not sending a lot of guys at the pocket. They said, okay, throw it underneath. We don't think you're going to. Go ahead. And obviously, it's easier when you're up on the scoreboard to play something like that and keep everything in front of you. But I also think this is a game plan. You don't get 37 out of 45 of your coverage snaps with that many coverage defenders if that wasn't your game plan going in. They did this from the beginning, not just when it got to the point where the game was out of reach. And Michael Penix obviously had more deep shots as the game was getting out of reach just because they had to throw him no matter what. But in the first half, to sort of what you were talking about, 6.9 average depth of target. This is a quarterback that should be a lot closer to 9, 10, 11. Now, is that going to happen every week? No. But you like for like 8 to 9 to at least be the average for this quarterback. And you love to be able to have some weeks where you're pushing into double digits when it comes to an average depth of target. So the Panthers basically said, all right, we're daring you. Check it down underneath. And things went well for them, right? They had the interception return for a touchdown that was pretty clutch for them, and they were able to kind of control the game. They didn't really have to put too much stress on their offense. But I think that told the story, is they dared the Falcons to do it. And I'll tell you what else sort of stood out to me. So going into this week, Michael Penix, out of 32 eligible quarterbacks, when I sorted it for like minimum dropbacks, before week 3, throws over the intermediate and deep middle parts of the field. I talked about this in the preview show. The Panthers been really bad at defending it through the first 2 weeks. Michael Penix doesn't attempt it. He had 3 attempts, again, which was third fewest behind like J.J. McCarthy, and I can't remember who the other one was. So for all intents and purposes, he was basically lowest in the NFL through the first 2 weeks of attacking over the intermediate and deep middle of the field. He actually had 5 attempts in this game that he threw it over the middle. But I went back and I watched all of his snaps this morning, again, getting ready for this show, and there were still multiple opportunities for him to throw it over the middle that he just got gun-shy over because he wants to be an outside-the-numbers quarterback. That's what he was a lot when he was at Washington. That's what he wants to do. And the Panthers sort of dared him to throw it over the middle and throw it underneath. And he just kind of struggled to do both of those things. And I don't think that's totally a Michael Penix thing. I agree with you. It's probably a little bit of a marriage between him and the offensive play caller and the offensive play designer and Zach Robinson. But it just was not a good day for the Falcons. It was very clearly one of their worst offensively.
They did a better job last year, even in just his 3 starts, of creating opportunities for him to throw over. And again, I think a part of that is play action. Get under center, because not only, look, the Panthers, they sit back and play a lot of zone coverage a lot. They were sitting way further back than they normally do. You could look at the depth. It's just crazy. It's almost the same thing the Chiefs were doing to Russell Wilson and the Giants. They were just sitting back and going, yeah, no, not happening. And if you don't run the ball, you have to sit there with a look like that with guys playing that deep. You have to run the football. And even if you're down 10-0, don't force him to win the game. Take the ball out of his hands. That's what they did against Minnesota last week. They got it right. Now you're 1-2. You're in 3rd place. You just lost a game that makes you question everything that you have on offense all of a sudden. They got a lot. And Penix did play very poorly. We also have to remember it's only his 6th career start.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's still early for him. He's still essentially a rookie. I think structurally, and Penix has to be better, but structurally, they got to figure out what in the world they want their offense to be, because you cannot go get shut out by the Carolina Panthers.
A couple of rookies that I'm going to have here as most impressive and most disappointing after a week where I was praising the Falcons rookies. This was a good reminder that it was always going to be an up-and-down journey for their rookies. Xavier Watts, Billy Bowman, Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., the only rookie amongst the group who had a overall defensive grade above a 60 this week was Jalen Walker. I think he had like a 70.1 or something like that. So it was just a down week for the rookies. And there's always going to be down weeks for rookies because they are rookies. So, yes, a flashy performance from that whole group through the first 2 weeks of the season, specifically last week. It was always going to be an up-and-down roller coaster. This was one of the valleys point of the wavelength for those rookies. And then the other side of things, I mean, I was sort of joking about it, but not really joking about it. I wanted to see Lathan Ransom in this game. Lathan Ransom was one of the best defensive players that the Carolina Panthers had all preseason, and it was time for him to start. They were struggling to defend over the middle of the field and be an impact over the middle of the field, and the second that Lathan Ransom played, he took that up a level. He needs to be the starter on this team. He played 34 snaps this week. It was the most that he's played in a single game so far this season. 91.2 run defense grade thanks to that forced fumble, but he had a pretty good coverage grade as well. He is a player that they need to get on the field in a starting capacity every single week. Most disappointing or most impressive? Anything we didn't hit?
Disappointing still, Penix. Most impressive, I'll give it to Mike Jackson. He had one of the interceptions in this game. Couldn't quite house it, but still a really good game. 83 coverage grade, 7 targets, 4 catches, 3 stops, only 24 yards allowed. So, I mean, if Ransom can play like that and he can mix his way in there in the secondary as well, and Mike Jackson's going to continue to play like this across from and Chow Smith-Wade in the slot with the pick 6, all of a sudden, okay, maybe the Panthers start to build this defense from back to front, even though it's still struggling a bit on the defensive line.
The Green Bay Packers traveled to Cleveland to take on what is now the best defense in the NFL in the Cleveland Browns, and Cleveland upset them. 13-10, the final score in this one. Crazy scenes from Cleveland as this game came to the final seconds and as the clock hit 0. The top 5 graded players that we had for the Cleveland Browns, as it often is when they have a great game, it's their all-alien edge rusher, Myles Garrett, with a 91.6. But defensive tackle Malik Collins, who I'm going to get to in a second, also he is stacking great games this season, 3 weeks in. 85.7 overall grade. Defensive tackle Shelby Harris, who had the block of the field goal at the end there, an 83.0. Safety Grant Delpit, a 73.9. Safety Ronnie Hickman Jr., a 73.5. And then Joe Flacco in this one, a 62.1 on Green Bay's side of things. Edge rusher Lucas Van Ness with an 89.8 at the top of the list. Right behind him was Micah Parsons with an 82.1. Linebacker Quay Walker, an 81.0. Defensive tackle Colby Wooden with a 76.2. Running back Josh Jacobs, a 73.4. And then Jordan Love in this game, a 59.0 overall offensive grade. Dalton, this was the game that knocked a lot of people out of their survivor pools. Couldn't be me.
I'm not in one.
Smart. What was your stat that told the story here for this game?
You can't survive if you're not in a pool or something.
We're still in beta with that one, but we'll
figure it out.
We'll work on it.
We got a lot of sayings on this show. Anyway, no, I mean, honestly, this is just one that got away from the Packers. They were in an ugly defensive game in Cleveland. There's going to be a lot of these this year. They were up 10-0 with 10 minutes to go. The Browns did drive down, decent drive, get a field goal, and then it just starts to cave in from there. And I think you have to feel like if you're the Packers, you did just let it get away, right? The next drive after the Browns field goal, Jordan Love, 3rd and 3, throws a slant, gets picked off, kind of forced it, kind of predetermined the throw. That leads to a touchdown on the very next play from Quinshon Judkins. Then you have the Shelby Harris, Love drives him down the field. You have the Shelby Harris blocked field goal because that was the theme of yesterday. And then the Browns do just enough to get a 55-yarder of their own. Redemption for Andre Schmidt, who obviously missed the field goal that could have won the game against the Bengals in week 1. I think what sticks out to me a little bit, this Jordan Love interception, and Love's obviously going to get a boatload of flack for throwing it. Also there, though, on 3rd and 3, it's 10-3. The Browns have a little momentum. They get the field goal, but still only drove down for a field goal, and they haven't proven to you yet that they can drive down and score a touchdown. There is a part of me that wonders, despite it being 3rd down and 3rd and 3, right? Solid, maybe neutral-ish situation, and they couldn't block anybody. So I do wonder if they could have ran the ball there and just been, even if they didn't get it, been content to punt it away and just make him go 80 yards. Instead, return the interception to the 4-yard line, score on the next play. You're in a tie ball game, and the Browns have all the momentum. I do wonder if you really needed to throw the football right there. Now, it's 3rd down.
I mean, they couldn't run for crap the whole game.
I mean, they couldn't do anything.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not really feeling like I'm trying to run the ball in that situation when I haven't done anything to that game.
I do wonder just a little bit about that. Either way, it's a ball where you can't predetermine the throw because a turnover is the only thing that could get the Browns back in it, even at 10-3, because they're not driving the whole field. They're just not going to. They never drove the whole field this entire game, the Browns. Their one touchdown they got, it was 4 yards. So, I mean, it just feels like if you're the Packers, first of all, credit the Browns defense. And I'm with it.
This is the best defense in the NFL.
Absolutely. The Packers are probably right there with them. This Browns despite giving up 34 on defense to the Ravens, they didn't play a bad defensive game. Considering what they're saddled with on the offensive side, yeah, this is the best defense in football. And the Browns with this defense, they almost can't be the worst team in football. They just can't. Because this defense is so good. They're going to keep them in every single game they play in. And they just have to hope their offense is functional. But the Packers, I mean, they just let it get away. They made mistakes in the last 10 minutes of this game. And you give a team like that that's playing that good a defense an opportunity, sometimes they find a way to take it from you.
Browns defense, 85.9 run defense grade as a team in this one. Josh Jacobs had 30 yards on 16 carries. Number 1 in team run defense grade at a 90.3 this season through 3 weeks. Number 3 in EPA per rush allowed. I mean, this team is so stout. We've talked with multiple teams here. The Commanders are one of them where we're like, hey, you got to be able to run the football. Something that's holding the Raiders back is their lack of ability to run the football, right? For as much as the NFL is about the flashy, the passing, the quarterbacks, all that kinds of stuff, if you can't stay balanced, whatever, ratio of run to pass that means for your offense to stay balanced, if you can't run the football at all, you're going to have a hard time winning football games. We're seeing that with the Kansas City Chiefs. They have Patrick freaking Mahomes, and they're struggling to win football games in part because they can't run the football. When you play the Cleveland Browns, they put the clamps on you when it comes to running the football. They make you as one-dimensional as any team in the NFL is right now, and it's incredibly impressive to watch. Malik Collins is one of those players this year on their interior who's playing really, really well. He is my most impressive in this game. A 91.3 defensive grade on the season, a 91.7 pass rush grade. He is playing like a bat out of hell every single time that the ball is snapped. 70.4 run defense grade overall from him. Mason Graham is giving you some splash plays. Carson Schwessinger is flying into the ball right behind him in the second level. Isaiah McGuire, you've talked about being a really underrated player on this defensive line. Shelby Harris, a veteran in that defensive rotation. Obviously, Myles Garrett as well. But we talked about this last week against the Baltimore Ravens when they held, how many yards did King Henry get last week?
Was it like 20 or it's something?
Whatever it was.
It was like nothing.
Way below what it should have been for being Derrick Henry. And a reason why is not just the defensive line, not just second level, but we complimented the secondary players, the safeties, Grant Delpit, Denzel Ward, all of these guys. When these runs were bouncing to the outside, the corners were taking care of business. This is a total team effort, top to bottom, best run defense team in the NFL, and they have had, obviously the Bengals aren't the best test, but it kind of makes sense that you see the Bengals last in the NFL in terms of like rushing output when you know that week 1 they played this defense. Then you saw what they did to King Henry the next week. Then you saw what they did to Josh Jacobs the next week.
Oh no!
This has been
all the way around.
This has been early tested already, and they are very, very impressive.
Oh no, they're gonna have a few. They're gonna have a few more like this where they just mess around and win a game like this because their defense is this good. This is unreal. Mason, you mentioned Mason Graham, Malik Collins. Malik Collins, the highest graded D tackle in football that's played at least 40 snaps. It's ridiculous. Myles Garrett, of course, is second among edge defenders. Schwessinger and Devin Bush, 2 of the top 15 highest-graded linebackers in the league.
I believe it.
Devin Bush is 7, Schwessinger is 14th. No, they're loaded. If you play preseason expectations, offense, Joe Flacco, whatever you want, if you're an opposing coach and you're playing the Cleveland Browns, you're a little nervous because this team could just dominate you up front on defense, and that's exactly what they did in this game. I want to point out Shelby Harris. I know, actually, he came in under our 25-snap minimum. He played 20 snaps in this game, but for the block field goal and everything, wanted to get him in there as well. But 79.7 run defense grade. He's another one. 3 positive run D grades and 2 stops on just 10 snaps, and he had the block field goal. And I want to mention this with Jalen Carter, with Jordan Davis, with Shelby Harris, with Will McDonald. Those blocked field goals are not baked into the defense grades. We have separate special teams grades for that. So think about how well these guys played on defense. And then you throw the special teams, the blocked field goal part of it on top of it in a separate category. I had to point out, because again, it was the theme of the day. It was all these block kicks and special teams plays and everything like that. None of this end result doesn't happen without Shelby Harris also blocking that field goal. So credit to him as well.
We getting some Jim Schwartz head coaching interviews this cycle. We didn't get any last cycle.
Probably, if you're looking for defense.
He's interviewed a lot, really. I think since he was fired from the Lions. What was that, in like 2013? He's interviewed a handful of times. I remember he had some, because I just looked this up, like some head coaching interviews in like 2017, and then 2020 he did as well. Did he get looks in 2022, 23? I can't remember, but he's and no one's obviously taking the bait. I think a lot of teams want to go for the offensive head coach anyways because it's very easy for you. If your offense is good, then you won't get poached, right? And that's always the fear about it. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers thing is sort of the fear of hiring a defensive head coach is Dave Canales, oh, he's good, now he's gone. Oh, Liam Cohen, oh, he's good, now he's gone. I bet Josh Grizzard gets head coaching interviews this offseason if the offense keeps playing the way that they are. And so you alleviate that when you have an offensive head coach. And so I think that could be a factor against Schwartz. But, man, if this defense keeps playing the way that they are, he's at least going to get consideration there. Most disappointing for me is the Packers' overall consistency in this game. They are 4th in yards per attempt right now, 3 weeks into the season, 8.4 yards per attempt. They're 7th in average depth of target at a 9.3. They have a high-octane offense, high-potential offense, high-flying offense. They have a quarterback that wants to push the ball deep down the field. You're going to have some weeks that are like this. You're going to have some peaks and valleys when your offense is sort of built for big game hunting the way that Jordan Love wants to. It's not going to be super methodical and repetitive every single week. And in reality, I think the Packers have the potential to win the Super Bowl this year. Absolutely. Timing is going to mean a lot for this team. If they walk into the playoffs and they're hot, I don't know if anybody beats them. But if they happen to have a lull, then I think that this team very clearly, we saw this past weekend, can be vulnerable. And that can be said, I think, for every team in the NFL. But specifically with Jordan Love, I watched a lot of him this morning as well because I knew that we would talk a lot about him. And even beyond the interception, I thought his day was very interesting because he can't stop throwing off of his back foot. He can't stop doing that fadeaway pass thing.
And in this game, especially when he feels like, oh, they're coming, because they were. The Packers had a 15 pass blocking grade as a team. He knew they were coming, and you could feel it sped up.
But even on the plays where he had a clean pocket, he's either fading away or he's feeling ghosts. I know that's sort of like a taboo thing to say, but you could tell he's kind of panicking. And Cleveland's got a great defensive line. It's understandable for this game, but it's something to monitor moving forward. Because if Jordan Love is going to continue to be this fadeaway jump shooter with all of his passes, and there was one play where I can't remember the in-game situation, but they had their slot receiver to his left, and it was a quick play that was in between, I believe, the apex, the slot defender, and then whoever the linebacker was. And Jordan Love actually completed this pass, but it was a lot closer than it needed to be because he chose to not step up and complete the pass with his momentum moving forward to fire it in there, and instead just faded away from where the pass was going, and he's able to zip it in there because he's got a lot of really good arm talent. But those are the little details where, okay, they might not get you in trouble. Obviously, they lost this game. They might not get you in trouble every week, but they might get you in trouble when you've got to win 3 or 4 games in the playoffs against 3 or 4 of the best teams that you're going to face all year. And so that's kind of the inconsistency with Jordan Love. And then I will have him under a microscope as the season goes on to see if he continues to throw the ball with throwing mechanics as if he's under pressure when he's not. Cleveland, good defense. I can understand it. I can understand being a little skittish. I really can. But if moving forward, if he's still like that, then you kind of got to worry about, okay, now the peaks and valleys for the Green Bay Packers, the wavelength is higher and low. It's probably lower than what you want it to be. So it was just something interesting to note from him. There was a lot of fadeaways. There was a lot of being skittish, even when the pocket was clean. Something to monitor with Jordan Love.
2 things. Should be able. The contrast of going from playing Cleveland to playing Dallas next week is probably going to feel pretty good. And fun stat, combined the 3 teams that have played Cleveland so far have a 20 against the Browns in these 3 games have a 29.6 pass blocking grade. Just silly levels of, again, considering they have no offense to speak of really. Mm-hmm. What the Browns are doing on defense is just, and they should be 2-1. That should be.
Yeah, they should be.
They absolutely should be 2-1, but for a missed field goal, they'd be 2-1.
Anything else on this one before we move on?
All good.
Okay, we're all good there. All right, before we move on to the next game, got to talk to you guys about our friends over at ZipRecruiter. Man, when you were hiring, sometimes it's a tough process, intimidating process, frustrating process sometimes, right? You're waiting for the right candidates to apply. You're waiting for a lot of resumes to stack up. Finding candidates, it can be a difficult process. It really can, even if you got the best intentions. Well, the future of hiring looks much brighter because ZipRecruiter's latest tools and features help speed up finding the right people for your role. So you can save your valuable time. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. I just think that this is a situation where, when you're hiring somebody, you're putting out, these are qualifications for the job. This is what we need. And those are obviously those are the baseline. But really, you want to find the right candidate, not just the one that checks all the boxes for you. You've got to find the right candidates where, yes, they can do all the things that you have on your required list, but they also grow. They evolve as your business does with you. With ZipRecruiter's new advances, you can easily find and connect with qualified candidates in minutes. See a candidate that you're really interested in, you can unlock their contact info instantly. They've got over 320K new resumes that are added to ZipRecruiter monthly, which means you can reach more potential hires and fill those roles. No wonder ZipRecruiter is the #1 rated hiring site based on G2 at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Use ZipRecruiter. Save time hiring. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And if you go to ZipRecruiter.com/audio right now, you could try it for free. Again, that is just ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Broncos, Chargers. Chargers win this one 23-20. Top 5 graded players that we have for the Los Angeles Chargers in this one. Linebacker Troy Dye at the very top of the list with an 82.9. Offensive tackle Joe Alton, 87.0. Cornerback Benjamin St. Juste with a 78.3. Defensive tackle Tierra Tar, 78.0. Edge rusher Tuli Tuipulotu with a 75.0. And then Justin Herbert, a 74.1. On Denver's side of things, linebacker Justin Strnad with an 81.5. Edge rusher Jonathan Cooper, a 78.4. Defensive tackle DJ Jones, a 78.1. Wide receiver Cortland Sutton, a 77.5. And then offensive tackle Garrett Bowles, a 75.2. Quarterback Bo Nix in this game, a little better than the previous couple weeks. Still not great. 57.9. Okay, stat that told the story here, Dalton.
Okay. All right, we can say it now. And this was a huge game for the Broncos and the Chargers, but for the Broncos especially to kind of prove, okay, hey, our offense is actually like a consistent unit. It is not right now a consistent unit. It's very inconsistent. So in the middle portion of this game, very small window here, they scored 17 points in a span of 4 minutes, okay? At the end of the second quarter, beginning of the third quarter, you got a touchdown on a 4th and 2, big 4th and 2 play call from Sean Payton, big bomb to Cortland Sutton. Okay, they're on the board. Cool. Then they come out of the half, 3 big plays from J.K. Dobbins, score, there's 14. Darius Davis fumbles the kickoff for the Chargers. Broncos can't finish that drive even though they got it at the Chargers 30, but you got 17 points in a span of 4 minutes. That's pretty cool, right? We love that. The rest of the game, outside of those 3 drives, there was a kneel down in between. Outside of those 3 drives, here's what I'm looking at for the Broncos. 38 plays, 3.7 yards per play. And they didn't run the ball well in this game either. 14 designed rushing yards out of those 38 plays and a 48.3 offensive grade. This offense right now is just as hot and cold as it gets. They did not look good against Tennessee in week 1. They looked good for about 3 drives against Indy last week. Not a great defense. And then they went cold again. And now this week, they were bad for a bit. You know, 3 decent, really 2 good drives, and then the Chargers handed them a field goal. You got 17 points pretty quick, got a lead there. And then they went cold for the rest of the game again. This Denver offense, they've got to figure it out, the consistency to it. Because Bo Nix right now is the lowest graded passer in football. The pass protection in this game was, to me, not great. I didn't think it was great. They're struggling to run the ball now because you don't really respect the passing game much. And then my most disappointing part I'm going to throw in here, last week we got all Troy Franklin and other guys and no Cortland Sutton. This week we got all Cortland Sutton and nobody else. He had 6 catches for 118 yards and 5 first downs. The rest of the team had 8 catches for 35. Nobody else in the passing game got a first down other than Cortland Sutton. They are wildly inconsistent on offense right now. It's Nix's accuracy. He's the third, according to our quarterback charting, he's the 3rd least accurate quarterback. Or I should say he's throwing the 3rd highest rate of uncatchable passes behind, I believe it's Caleb Williams and Geno Smith, and then Bo Nix. Too many uncatchable passes. The mechanics are off. The offense, especially on early downs, is off. The running game is not consistent. There is no consistency right now to this Broncos offense. And one thing I do wonder, I've said this before, And I do wonder now if maybe, especially with the Sutton situation, the splits I just mentioned, boy, could they have used another weapon in the draft? Because Jahdae Barron played 16 snaps in this game.
Yeah.
And he's played 53 snaps in the first 3 games.
Yeah.
He's a apparently rotational guy who's their 4th corner. Maybe a Luther Burden wouldn't hurt. Maybe a Matthew Golden wouldn't hurt, especially if you are, as you say, trying to get this offense to be more vertically based here.
I agree.
3 weeks in, I don't know what this Denver offense is really supposed to look like from a full 60-minute, full game basis. Each game I've gotten 2 or 3 good drives, and I've gone ice cold for the rest of it.
No, I agree with you completely, and you know that I'm on the glass half full with Nix when it comes to potential than you are. Like I think he has all the talent in the world to be a starting quarterback and a successful one in the NFL. I think he's got great arm talent to him. I think he's got good athletic ability. But it is as if he shotguns a White Monster energy drink right before he goes out there. I mean, he is jittery. He is all over the place. He cannot sit still. And the worst part about it is he's got some good athleticism to him. But when he is on the run, he's not a good quarterback. And there are times when he could set his feet and be a little bit more fundamental in how he's delivering the ball. But there are also times when he just needs to throw it on the run, and he throws it on the run, and he's inaccurate. He has a 62.1 passing grade. He had a 62.1 passing grade on the run in this game. He was 2 for 5 on scrambles when he was throwing down the field. And he just has a 50.4 passing grade on the run this season with 3 turnover-worthy plays coming on the run. I mean, he had those 2 throws in this game, and I'm not trying to say that they're like easy throws to make, but they're wide open. I mean, what was the one to Troy Franklin down the sideline or Marvin Mims? I can't remember who it was where he overthrows him. That's a touchdown.
Yeah.
You just, like, I understand you're trying to get the ball there with pace. Like, I get it. Like, dude, you just got to hit the receiver.
And
there's not a defender anywhere near him. If he even stopped, like fully had to stop to catch the football, he probably still scores.
Yeah.
That's how wide open he was. However you do it, whether you're on the run, whether you stop, whether you plant your feet, whatever it is, that receiver has to catch that football. Now, the one in the end zone, he's stretching it out a little far and it's just out of reach. Okay, I can get that one. But there are too many throws where even if they're just barely missed from him, they are missed. And they have to start being completions. Because if they're not, like you said, there is too much hot and cold in this offense. Right now, they are too close to like what the Giants are, where if they don't hit a deep pass, a lot of the offense just sort of fizzles out. Now, I think they have a lot higher potential than the Giants offense, the way that it currently is with Russell Wilson out there. And I think it looks closer to actually being there, but they still have to execute it. And Nick's just absolutely hasn't through 3 weeks. And I think that's the story of why this is a good football team, in my opinion, that's sitting here at 1-2.
There was also the flea flicker that he's like charging up in the pocket, and I'm not sure why. Just set your feet and throw it. I mean, right, there's no consistency. The other thing I have to wonder, and they had a lead in this game, when do we start? I mean, it's 3 games in, got time to fix it. When do we start to question the fact that they're the 7th worst? They have the 7th worst coverage grade in the league.
Yeah, the defense has not come out.
And I know Greenlaw's been out, and that's been a problem.
We got teams picking on Patrick Surtain. Now, it hasn't always worked. Like, he's got some good plays in coverage, but I'm a little shocked at that. Like, there's a lot more targets going to Pat Surtain than I thought there was going to be during the first 3 weeks of the season. So you're right. I mean, they're struggling. I don't know. I don't know if I'd say they're struggling on defense. They're not the defense that we thought they might be, that I certainly thought they might be coming out of the gate for how well they played last year, and they only added more potential superstars.
I think Nick Bonito and the pass rush have been really good, but on the back end, they're not.
Struggling.
They only have one of their coverage defenders above a 60 coverage grade, and that's Jaquan McMillan.
Yeah.
Surtain, Moss, Hufanga, Greenlaw being out in the middle is not helping their cause because you're starting Justin Strnad, and he can't cover. He's a good, decent run defender, but he can't cover.
And didn't Greenlaw just go to IR?
I believe
I think so.
I mean, that's going to continue to be a problem.
Right.
I mean, no, it's not smooth right now in Denver. It isn't, and I think it's all the way around. And again, the 2 losses they have are close losses, but close losses are losses, right? I mean, next week you get Cincinnati. You feel pretty good about that, but you get Philly right after that, and then you get this AFC West is tough.
You cannot lose and still win. in the NFL.
Good call. That's a Mike McDaniel one, isn't it?
Trent Dilfer.
Oh, well, Mike McDaniel said something.
It was when Trent Dilfer was still on Monday.
McDaniel said something close to that last week.
He
what
might
is it? What did he say? You have to win the football game. You have to win it. It was something. Mike McDaniel was on that last week, either this week or last week too. It might have been after the Bills.
Speaking of winning, the Chargers. Man, I talked about how high of a floor the Eagles have. This team's probably number 2, right? I mean, them are the Colts, the way that the Colts are playing right now, but the Chargers are so damn good. They have 16 penalties through the first two weeks, which is the third least in the NFL. They have 100, out of all of their players through 3 weeks, they have 187 negatively graded plays, which may sound like a lot, but when you talk about every player playing every snap, that is the least amount of negative plays of any team in the NFL through 3 weeks in the season. They are 5th in EPA per pass on the offense side of the ball. They are top 10 in third down conversion rate. This team's just good. They've got a great defense that's flying around, playing really solid under Jesse Minter. You mentioned maybe no team in the NFL plays cap coverage better, makes you play underneath. And, boy, most impressive to me is Derwin James. Derwin's been unbelievable. This might be the best year from Derwin James in his career. In my opinion, he's playing the way that you would want a defensive player of the year to play. Because what the Chargers are doing is they are playing, quarters or at least some sort of too high shell. They're keeping you from throwing the ball deep, and then they are putting Derwin James at the linebacker level, and they are letting him feel out and recognize things in the pre-snap where he is either blitzing off the edge, blitzing up the middle, sniffing out where screens are happening, or picking up somebody over the middle, which he knows is going to be a hot read if there is pressure there. He is playing at such a high IQ. He is playing so versatile. I really do believe that Derwin James is having a defensive player of the year start to this 2025 season.
To your point, I'm going to have to look more into alignment splits. He's only played 7 snaps this year lined up as a free safety.
Oh, I thought it was less than that. It was 2 this past game.
2 in this game, only 7 across the 3 games. 81 in the slot, 65 in the box, floating around linebacker, strong safety.
Yep.
You're essentially, and I've seen some college defenses start to do this. I think about Caleb Downs with the same thing at Ohio State, and he's on that caliber of prospect. You're getting this where teams are starting to put 3 safeties out there. The Chargers are doing it with Gilman and with Tony Jefferson's actually been the guy playing a lot for them after the preseason king Tony Jefferson. But I mean to have functional safeties like that and as much zone coverage as they can play, but they rotate a lot. They match a lot of concepts. They really mix it up. But the fact that you have James as just kind of that, Sean Payton's the guy that's always talking about jokers on the field. Derwin James is the ultimate one, right?
100%.
We always talk about Kyle Hamilton and everything he does, and Antoine Winfield. Derwin James,
he's right there.
He's been doing it longer than those guys.
Yeah, he's right there.
You talk about a guy who could do everything on a field. He really is the key to the whole thing. And I think I'm going to find probably later this week more alignment splits and different things like that. But he's incredible. He's the key to the whole defense.
His grade wasn't as high as I thought it was going to be on these situations, but I looked up how he has been defending screens because I just watched just from this game alone, he is recognizing screens before any other defensive player on the team. He is a half a step, if not a full step ahead to fire to where the ball is going on those screen passes. And he is just becoming somebody who screen game is I know fans hate it. It's an important part of stretching out a defense horizontally, keeping them honest, making them tackle in order to make plays, getting defenses to kind of creep up a little bit and not play as far deep in coverage. Again, I know fans sort of hate it, but there is a reason why NFL teams run screens. When you have a player like Derwin James who can neutralize that almost by himself, that's incredibly advantageous for you because it discourages offenses from ever wanting to run it. And then if you do that, you just get to sit back in whatever defensive coverage you want. So he's just, he's playing such a important role for this Minter defense, and I think that he should be in the early defensive player of the year category.
Absolutely.
Most impressive, most disappointing.
Boy. Most disappointing, again, the Broncos, the rest of that receiving core, somebody's got to step up. I mean, it's cool. Last week they got Troy Franklin. This week they got Cortland Sutton and nobody else. They need more consistency out of his receiving core as well as Bo Nix. Most impressive. Listen, Trev, save me the nonsense that Justin Herbert can't do things when it matters. Please. I don't want to hear it. They're 0-2 in 2 playoff games. I understand. He played bad against the Texans. We've admitted that. The one going back against the Jaguars, 27-0. If you're blaming Justin Herbert for that, watch the game again. Fourth quarter of this game, 12 of 15, 123. The touchdown to Keenan Allen, just to tie the game, that's just ridiculous. He's rolling to his left. He's throwing it basically around Nick Bonito's ear hole. And Keenan Allen, fountain of youth out there in L.A. apparently, just take a break in Chicago.
He's home.
He's home. I mean, Justin Herbert, 86.7 passing grade in the fourth quarter. First 3 quarters, I'll admit it wasn't great. Don't tell me he can't do it when it matters. They're 3-0 in the division right now. They've beaten all 3. They got their 3 division rivals.
I know.
All in the first 3 weeks.
I know.
And Herbert beat the Chiefs down in Brazil. Clutch plays at the end of the game. Beat the Raiders. Their defense was more responsible for it, but he was certainly good enough. And now this game, that throw he made to Bonito is one of the best, around Bonito and to Keenan Allen to tie this game. That's probably going to be one of the 5 best throws of the season. That's just ridiculous to throw it as he's being hit around Bonito's ear hole. Do not tell me, till further notice, I don't care, do not tell me Justin Herbert can't get it done when it matters. Because these 3 games mattered, and they're in first place because of it.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Real ball knower stuff. Anything else?
No.
Disappointing? You good?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Saints at Seahawks. It's a tough one for the Saints. 44-13, Seattle Seahawks. There's some takeaways from this game, certainly on Seattle's side. So let's talk about the top 5 graded players that we have for the Seahawks in this one. Wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba, a 91.3. Cornerback Darion Kendrick, a 90.3. Tight end A.J. Barner at 87.9. Safety Ty Okada. Is it
Okada?
Okada is how you'd say that. 79.4. Tight end Eric Saubert with a 79.1. And then Sam Darnold, 92.7. Anytime your PFF passing grade sounds like a local radio station, you know you're doing something right.
I can just imagine if I had him on the Jets. I can only imagine.
I got a jersey swap for you. It may look a little bit dated, but I cooked it up for you. You can see it after the show. The Saints' top 5 graded players: linebacker Demario Davis, a 77.8. Edge rusher Chris Rump, the second, a 72.2. Wide receiver Chris Olave, a 68.3. Linebacker Pete Warner, a 67.9. Defensive tackle Nate Shepard with a 67.8. And then Spencer Rattler, a 40.5. Stat that told the story.
Travis, the simplest breakdown we have. This game was over after the first quarter.
Unfortunately so.
We're going to try to make this review as quick as the game was. Maybe even quicker. Yeah, this game was over after the first quarter. You had the Seahawks. The funniest stat to me of the week, actually, is they ran 8 offensive plays in the first quarter, and yet they ended it with 21 points. That kind of rules. That's pretty efficient. But that happens when, one, you get a Torrey Horton punt return touchdown that I'm sure whoever Seattle's special teams coach is, I can't remember off the top of my head, probably was begging for him not to field that punt at his own 4-yard line, and he housed it anyway. And then they block a punt the very next time out for the Saints, and just fitting the theme of outstanding special teams plays in the NFL, Seattle basically ended this game after 15 minutes with their special teams. And it was 21-0 before you could blink, and pretty much cruise control from there. If you didn't turn it off after the first quarter, you probably could have. At halftime, the Seahawks went home, playing an inferior team in the Saints, put them away very, very early, hit cruise control to get to 2-1.
The Seahawks scored on their first 7 possessions. 4 of them were touchdowns.
Plus the punt return, right?
Right. Which gets me to my most impressive is Torrey Horton. 4 targets, 3 catches, 32 yards, a touchdown in this one. Also had 3 punt returns for 118 yards and a touchdown. Really, I mean, what a gem they have in Torrey Horton.
He's a top 80 talent that they stole in the 5th round.
No question about it.
Just the knee injury and all of that.
Yeah,
he's always been blazing
it.
fast, unbelievably fast at Colorado State.
Yeah, what was it? Just 3 years ago now? They played that big game against Colorado.
Oh, he torched them.
Yeah. And it was somebody threw a pick 6. Or it was going to be a pick 6, and Horton just comes out of nowhere, almost like DK Metcalf style, and tackles somebody, like right before they got to the goal line.
Oh, and I think in our tracking 2 years ago, I want to say, he was one of like the 5, his top speed was like one of the 5 fastest.
Wasn't it Shiloh Sanders? I felt like it was. I think Shiloh Sanders either recovered a fumble or got an interception where he was running back to for some sort of fumble, recovery, pick six, whatever it is. Torrey Horton catches him from behind, just blazing speed. So he can run, and obviously we saw that this past week. Look, the Seahawks were just a machine. They were a machine this week. I thought everything really looked good from whatever the Seahawks wanted to do. It was just a down day for the Saints. We knew that they weren't going to be one of the better teams in the NFL. We knew that they were probably destined for a top 5 pick. The last couple of weeks, they did look competitive. This one, especially when you give up a couple of touchdowns early, you got the special team score against you. It was never going to work out. Their rushing game, Kenneth Walker, yeah, the 2 touchdowns on the day, but 16 attempts, 38 yards, 2.4 yards per attempt average. They weren't really doing it. Sam Darnold completed 14 passes in this game, and they won 44-13. There's not really a lot of big takeaways here from this one. I am sort of sad about Spencer Rattler's situation. I don't think he's one of the better starting quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't even know, if you put Spencer Rattler in the Colts situation. I don't know if he's this starting quarterback that you feel great about. But I know that he's actually playing decent football on a team that it's not going to reward him at all whatsoever with what's going on with the Saints. And so I kind of just feel bad for Rattler because I doubt he's going to get the chance to start again in the short term just because he's getting his chance here. They're probably going to cut his season short and go to Tyler Shuck at some point. Shuck played in this game, but the more this season goes on and they don't have wins, there's not really a point to playing Rattler because they're going to need to know what answer they have for Tyler Shuck. So I just kind of feel bad for Spencer in his situation because I don't think he's playing terrible. I just think that he's not in a great situation.
When you fall behind again 21-0 before you can blink, what else is he going to do? The Saints offense, they've been competitive the first 2 weeks, but they're not capable of coming back from that.
Yep. Anything else?
Only thing, you remember, Trev, back in March when Seattle traded Geno Smith and traded DK Metcalf and cut Tyler Lockett and everything was all doom and gloom and Seattle was going to be awful?
No.
Me neither. But, because it never was like that for me.
I agree. I picked the Seahawks to win this division.
All of a sudden, 3 weeks in, they have the highest graded quarterback in football.
Very interesting.
You look at what's...
Clint Kubiak effect.
It's that simple.
Cubes.
It's all about connections.
Cubes.
Sam Darnold, 3 big-time throws in this game, 93% adjusted completion rate. I know he only had to throw 18 passes, but he was pretty darn good on those. Seattle's doing everything they want to do right now on offense, running the football well. The play action's working. The deep shots are working. Darnold and Kubiak are putting it together. You talk about looking confident, like I mentioned with Daniel Jones earlier. I don't know if I've ever seen Sam Darnold throw the ball as confidently, even last year, as he did in this game right here. Everything's rolling right for Seattle right now. The only thing they're regretting is just not finishing that last drive against San Francisco, but they are fully in this NFC West race, the way that this offense is rolling, and I think they're only getting better every week.
It's fun to watch. And the week 1 loss that they had, against the Niners.
They were all of 15 yards away from winning that game, and Nick Bosa.
I think the Seattle team's great, and I picked them to win the division. Now, I don't know if they're going to win the division, but I thought that they were going to be a damn good football team. I think they're really starting to show it. Cowboys and the Bears. Bears win this one, 31-14. Top 5 graded players that we have for Chicago. Normally, our cutoff is you got to play 25 snaps. Luther Burden didn't play 25 snaps. I don't care. I put him on the list anyways. Luther Burden the third, 93.0 overall grade in this one on the receiving end of maybe the longest flea flicker of all time when it comes to the pass back to Caleb Williams being a looping pass and then Caleb just bombing it 70 yards. Defensive tackle Gervin Dexter with an 83.6. Linebacker Tremaine Edmonds an 83.4. Cornerback Tyreek Stevenson a 79.8. Wide receiver Roma Dunze a 77.8. Caleb Williams in this one, 76.8. On Dallas' side of things, edge rusher Dante Fowler Jr. with an 83.3. Offensive guard Tyler Booker an 83.0. Tight end Jake Ferguson a 75.0. Halfback Javonte Williams with a 71.7. Edge rusher Osa Odigizua with a 71.3. And then quarterback Dak Prescott a 79.0 in this game. Dalton, what are we talking about here?
All right, simple. Look, we know for a fact now.
It's simple, he says.
Very simple. We know for a fact now, yes, the Cowboys' defense is awful. But this was the first game front to back that you really wanted to see everything you could out of Caleb Williams and out of Ben Johnson. I've got Caleb as my stat that tells a story. 10-plus yard throw, so we're attacking vertically down the field. He's a vertical passer. Let's attack it. 82.8 passing grade on these these throws. 7 of 13, 186 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 big-time throws. And the biggest part in this matchup, because the Cowboys have no pass rush to speak of, he had an average time to throw of 3.3 seconds when he was able to throw it 10-plus yards down the field, right? So it's just the Cowboys' lack of pass rush, the Bears and the play calling, Caleb making the throws when needed, and there was some open ones as well. You mentioned the flea flicker. There was two throws back-to-back that I was so impressed with at the end of the first half in the 2-minute drill, both right down the seams of the defense. Caleb looked confident in this game, and not just confident for the first 15 plays or for a quarter. He looked confident throughout the game, and he trusted the vertical concepts that Ben Johnson was calling. And honestly, going back on this, my most impressive part of this game is actually Ben Johnson. He calls a lot of darn good games because he's one of the best in the business, but I thought in this game you really saw the full depth of what he wants to do. First with the foundation of the offense, and then second, we know him for all these trick plays. I mean, they were there. The flea flicker for the touchdown, 2 end-arounds that both hit big plays. There was a wildcat reverse pass-looking thing they were setting up that Caleb ended up scrambling late in the game, but also you look at what he's done just in the base of the offense, 14 play-action passes, 10.6 yards per play on those. 5 screens that got 9 yards per play. And the last one I think might be the one that sticks the most if we can kind of get this offense really going right with the chemistry. So the first 2 weeks, 48% motion rate for the Bears. One of the 5 or 6 lowest marks in the league through the first 2 weeks. This week, 76% motion rate, 3rd highest in the NFL behind the Bills and Dolphins both playing on Thursday. I think he's adding, now he's getting, because again, this was going to be a process. Young quarterback, young offense, first-time head coach, complicated offensive system, starting to get into the depth of it. I think if that motion and these layers of this offense start getting built in here, and again, Dallas defense is awful. There's no question about that. But you could start seeing more days like this from Ben Johnson and from Caleb Williams. And I'll say this for Caleb, too, just in a general sense. Yeah, you missed some throws. Sure, everybody misses some throws. This might have been the first game I've watched of Caleb Williams where there wasn't a single moment where I was like, Caleb, don't, like one of those mental mistakes that he can make. I didn't see one of those. It was smooth. The operation was smooth. The play calling was fantastic and clearly added more layers to it from the first 2 weeks. I thought Ben and Caleb both together just did a spectacular job in this game.
Building off of your Ben Johnson point as the most impressive, my most impressive was the Bears' immaculate drive that they had in that third quarter. This is the kind of things that you're not going to get it every week. You need to be capable of it, at least capable. And before I would have told you the Bears were not capable of a drive like this. Now I've seen it with my own eyes. Starting at the 10:09 mark in the third quarter, okay, the Cowboys had gotten the ball, I believe, to start the first half, and I don't think that they got points. I don't think they moved the ball entirely well. They got a first down maybe, but then they just gave it back to Chicago. This is the third quarter. The Bears are up 10. The Bears are up 24-14. They proceed to go on a 19-play, 76-yard drive that takes up 9 minutes and 54 seconds off of the clock for a touchdown. They had 4 third downs that they converted and 1 fourth down, which was the goal-to-go situation in which Caleb Williams found DJ Moore in the back of the end zone. That put them up 31-14, and it basically was like, okay, now you are demanding the Cowboys offense to be perfect because they have to now get at least 17 points, likely would have needed probably 21 because it's not like Chicago probably would have gotten shut out if Dallas was pushing the ball that far and that fast. They would have probably had to have 3 touchdowns in order to get back into that game and win it. That's the kind of drive you have to have, at least in your DNA as a football team, to be a good offense. And the Bears, for the first time, you mentioned you didn't see Caleb have any of those like, Caleb kind of throws. That's the first time I've seen the Bears actually have that offense under Caleb Williams and just for a long time. Bears haven't been that capable of having an offense like that in a long, long time. Now they're not only capable of it, we saw it. Albeit against a defense that kind of stinks 3 weeks into the season. Don't care. You need to be able to do it. You're only playing the opponent that's right in front of you. And for a defense that is inferior, you want to see them be able to own it. That's also been an issue for the Bears, is that when they have played teams that are inferior talent-wise, they have not had the coaching to take advantage of it. This, to me, was a coaching game. Both sides of the ball. Criticism for both Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen a little bit heading into this game. I think they did a great job of sort of quelling that a little bit, at least for a week.
And you got to love that as part of those 19 plays, at one point there were 11 consecutive runs. That's what Ben Johnson wants to do. He wants balance. He wants to get behind Drew Dahlman and Joe Thuney and this offensive line who played really well in this game, and then allow Caleb to just run the offense. This was as good. It's as good as you could ask for from the Bears for 60 minutes against a defense that they had plenty of opportunity to go out and score a lot of points against.
My most disappointing was the Cowboys defense. But to be honest with you, I thought the stat that told the story throughout the game was Dak and the Cowboys offense on third down. So Brian Schottenheimer, he's calling plays, I think, for the first time since 2020. Because when he was under Mike McCarthy, he didn't call the plays. McCarthy called the plays. So this is the first year that he's back and calling these plays as the head coach now. I just didn't think it was a great game between the plays that were called and also the decisions that Dak made on third down specifically. They kind of struggled on third down in general in this game. They were only pressured on 2 of their 10 third down dropbacks in this game. 20%. And yet, you know what the time to throw average was for them? 2.24. The short of the sticks percentage, what the percentage is, quite literally, that you are throwing the ball short of the sticks on third down, 30%. You're only pressured on 2 of your 10 dropbacks. You're getting the ball out of your hand lightning quick, unnecessarily quick, and you're throwing it short of the sticks. I was there were a couple 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14. Is it likely that you're going to pick those up? No. But they didn't even give themselves a chance on some of those. I was very shocked at how conservative the Cowboys were on third down in this game. And I think that it was absolutely something that came back to bite them.
I do wonder with CeeDee Lamb, this is my most disappointing part, and it's not great for the Cowboys offense, obviously, going forward. With so much of their offense centered around CeeDee Lamb and everything that he can do and everywhere he's lined up, him getting hurt so early in this game, you wonder how much that took out of the playbook for Brian Schottenheimer, considering, because he just moves around, and he's a lot of times the motion guy inside, outside, doing everything that this team needs. He only played 7 snaps in this game. He got hurt early in the first quarter and then played 1 more snap and came out. You just wonder if that took a lot schematically out of there. And now it's being reported now he's going to miss
high ankle sprain.
At least the next 2 weeks he's out, at least.
Yeah.
So they're not putting him on an IR, but it's at least 2 weeks and possibly 3 to 4. It's not good. If there's one guy they can't lose when you talk about multiplying what they can do in their playbook, that's the guy right there. Now this offense, I hate to say it, and I know they have Kevontae Turpin and Jalen Tolbert and guys like that, but CeeDee Lamb is the guy that schematically you worry about the most with how much he moves around.
Of course.
I wonder how much in game him getting hurt, that played a factor in some of that kind of stagnating, especially on third down.
All right, we got 2 more games that we're getting to. Before we get to that, parenting. It's filled with all sorts of high-pressure decisions. It can sometimes be difficult to tell if we've made the right choice for our kids' future, but here is a simple decision that you can make today that can have a meaningful impact on your kid's future, and that is opening up a UGMA kids investment account from Fabric to start their investment journey and give them a financial head start. Fabric by Gerber Life was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. The kids investment account from Fabric, you guys can start investing in your child's future today. While your kids cannot invest while they're minors, this UGMA kids account allows you to invest on their behalf and gives those investments so much more time to grow. The whole thing is online. It's very easy to set up an account. It could take you as little as just 5 minutes. And then you get started with just as little as $1 a day. You manage your child's account and monitor those investments right from your phone. There's no contribution limits to it. It's got multiple tax advantages. It's SIPC insured up to $500,000. There's no commission fees to it. Just a low, flat monthly maintenance fee. Funds can be used for anything. When they're younger, maybe you're dipping into it for tuition, books, summer camp, sports, after-school activities, whatever that looks like. And then when they're adults, maybe it's them buying their first house, first car, starting a business, whatever that looks like. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Start investing in your child today at meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. That's meetfabric.com/PFFNFL, MEET, fabric.com/PFFNFL. The portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Additional services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. You guys can learn more at meetfabric.com. Cardinals and the Niners, 16-15, the final score in this one. The Niners remain undefeated on the season. Gutsy win there from them, and getting through a lot of their injuries, one of which is Nick Bosa, now out for the year with an ACL tear. That is a massive blow to this team, as if they weren't dealing with enough injuries. But victorious in this game. Their top players in this one, edge rusher Bryce Huff with a 90.0. Linebacker Fred Warner next on the list with an 82.4. Linebacker D. Winters a 79.5. Offensive tackle Trent Williams a 78.5. Ricky Pearsall, their wide receiver, with a 75.2 to round things out. And then Mac Jones played well in this game, an 80.7. On Arizona's side of things, ooh, the ageless one, the fountain of youth, Calais Campbell. Looks like it's 15 years ago. 90.3 at the top of the list for the Cardinals here. Edge rusher Josh Sweat, 81.7. Center Yalda Froholt with a 79.5. Linebacker Mac Wilson Sr. with a 77.8. Tight end Trey McBride a 73.6. And then quarterback Kyler Murray an 80.4 as well. Close game, slugfest. What told the story here, Dalton?
I'm kind of worried about this Cardinals offense.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
You should be.
Within this game, I think the frustrating part is a 54.7 receiving grade. Marvin Harrison with a big drop on a deep over that, honestly, if he caught, he might have scored on. Not getting a lot of help for Kyler Murray, especially vertically down the field. This offense it doesn't have the identity it did last year. And I do think they want Harrison, and obviously Trey McBride is great, and Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, whoever else. I do think they want those guys to emerge in the passing game. Just not happening. 3 explosive catches, sure, but also 3 drops. 4 missed tackles forced in the receiving game, but 3 of them were James Conner, and 1 was Tip Ryman. And when I see Kyler Murray kind of quick game in and checking down the entire game to a 5.8 yard average depth of target, something's not right. This team cannot get vertical, and all of a sudden they're going to have to find some sort of offensively right now. The scariest part of their offense to me right this minute through 3 games is just Kyler Murray scrambling. If you keep him in the pocket, you make him beat you from the pocket. I don't see a whole lot here. And now that James Conner's done for the year with an ankle injury, I mean, you're relying on Trey Benson in the run game, and he hasn't been a workhorse like that in the NFL. He's had a couple of big runs so far this year. James Conner's out, and he's really been your most consistent player the last couple of years. The passing game is just kind of stagnant. I don't see a lot of creativity. I don't see a whole lot of explosive. And then even when you get it, the wide receivers especially, they're not taking advantage. They need Marvin Harrison Jr. to be the guy that they drafted 4th overall and the guy he was at Ohio State. That's not happening right now. This Cardinals team, their offense is not explosive, and they did not play fantastic football games in their 2 wins against the Saints and the Panthers. They got issues offensively. They got the safety the last 2. They took a lead on a safety in this game. There was a holding penalty in the end zone. They only scored 13 points in this game.
Yeah.
And the Niners defense has been playing relatively well, but it's not the most talented group in the whole league. This Cardinals, and now again, you don't have James Conner for the year. This is a problem. They have a real problem right now in this Cardinals offense.
Yeah, they're just too conservative right now. They won the turnover battle. They won the time of possession battle. They had less penalty yards. They still lost. It's got to be a recipe for a victory.
There are not enough. You could see it in the Saints game week 1, a little bit better in the Panthers game last week. This game especially, they are just not explosive.
No.
They don't have enough speed. They don't attack
Kyler's
downfield.
not trusting whatever is downfield.
No.
Whether they're open or not. And it doesn't help that, one of the few plays, Marvin Harrison Jr. is wide open. He just drops it.
Yeah.
No one's around it. That doesn't help.
There was another play where they got a big gain down to the 1 on a DPI. There was a throw that Murray made on the roll into the end zone for Harrison. Tougher catch than that one because that was basically like catching a punt. Still couldn't haul it in. Would have been a touchdown. They scored the next couple of plays with Trey McBride. But this is a very plodding offense right now, and the stars of it are not really playing the way that they need to be playing.
They had 1 drive over a minute 39 in the second half. One drive. That's just never going to win you a football game. 4.4 yards per attempt average this season. That's the lowest in the league. And I think that's the part that shines the most is when I went back and I watched this game, I don't think they're operating the offense terribly. I don't think Kyler isn't seeing things the way he needs to. I don't think he's being reckless with the football. They're just not winning downfield and they're not throwing it downfield. No. That's it. And they're going to be in a lot of these low score games if that's the case. I mean, they're at this point, they're lucky they hung on to beat Carolina last week.
Right, and their defense is better. They set out to make their defense better this offseason. I think their defensive line's playing great. They've managed in this game for the most part, despite a million cornerbacks being hurt, right? They're dealing with injuries on defense, but they need to score. And I'll be honest with you, as loaded as this division is, every team, they all have a winning record, and the Cardinals are 2-1, but eye test, and even the grading probably tells me this also, the Cardinals look like the fourth best team out of those four. Mm-hmm. They just and the Niners are battling through. They're doing it with Mac Jones and a bunch of injuries, and they're only adding more to it. But the Cardinals look like fourth out of these four teams.
Yeah,
because they didn't even play that well against the Saints and Panthers.
And look, it was always going to be a tough division, and I think there will be ebbs and flows on this division throughout the entire season because it's close and contested. But Cardinals, yeah, I mean they have got to get in the lab and design some plays where Kyler can attempt some deeper throws. They have to be able to do it, or they're just not going to score enough points. Ricky Pearsall was my most impressive player. 11 targets, 8 catches, 117 yards. I mean, Ayuk is obviously still not out there. Juwan Jennings wasn't out there. They're just Christian McCaffrey's kind of, they're hoping that he could be a lot of things for this offense, but he's not the explosive guy. They've needed some massive catches from Pearsall. George Kittle not out there. I forgot to mention him, and he has been able to deliver for them, and I think he has been a huge part of this. And if they did not have Pearsall, I do not know where this offense would be. I don't think that they're in the position that they're in right now, being 3-0 on the season.
And credit to Mac Jones as well. Other than the one interception he threw, it was pretty bad. It was one interception he threw in the fourth quarter, but Mac Jones has been terrific through 2 games. Yep. He's done everything Kyle Shanahan's asked. If he had to play next week, he'd probably go out there and play something close to winning football again. I think it speaks to Kyle Shanahan and you know, not asking Mac Jones to do anything outside of himself. You know, I think that's what you want out of a backup quarterback. I mentioned that with Marcus Mariota earlier. I'm going to be honest with you, Trev. With all these injuries they've had, with Kittle being out for a while, with Nick Bosa now done for the year, Juwan Jennings not 100%, and Brandon Ayuk, and whoever I'm missing, let me know. I'll be honest, I think and people were kind of in on a Niners bounce back because of the schedule, and the easy schedule is only easy if you're good. But I think if they make the playoffs, I think you have to hand Kyle Shanahan coach of the year.
Yeah, you really might.
He will be. Kyle Shanahan should be the coach of the year, and I know it's week 3. I'm saying it early. He should be the coach of the year if San Fran makes the playoffs, because this is just. I mean, you just lost Nick Bosa the whole year, one of your 2 big guns on defense.
It's brutal.
That's crazy.
It's brutal.
And they're 3-0 and 2-0 with Mac Jones, and just keep playing.
Yep.
He should win Coach of the Year. Wild card division, whatever. If San Fran makes the playoffs, Kyle Shanahan should absolutely be the Coach of the Year. I'll say that 15 weeks ahead of time.
Shanahan gets an unnecessary amount of hate because of the Super Bowl.
At least he was in them.
No.
I don't know what that feels like.
Like people, because they choked the Super Bowl, and a lot of it wasn't fully on play calling, but play calling is a reason why they did not win that Super Bowl against New England Patriots. I think people.
I thought you meant this last one against KC with the coin flip.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not even saying that. Like I'm just saying.
You're going way back.
I'm saying the Falcons. Like I still think that people hold that Super Bowl against him because he is, no question about it, one of the best coaches in the NFL. He has been for the last 7 years. He has been one of the best coaches. Has he been perfect? No, but he is absolutely one of the first 5 names out of my mouth is like, hey, you're starting a football team. You need somebody to be your head coach. Kyle Shanahan's one of the first names that I'm mentioning. He is. And I would have said that long before this conversation that we're talking about here. I wrote a head coaching ranking list like last year, and I had him like 4th. And that was the biggest, like people were freaking out about it because they think Kyle's a bum. And anyways. I agree with your take. If they end up making the playoffs with everything that they have had to go through, and that's coming from somebody who I didn't really believe in the Niners coming into this year. I thought the Niners were going to be fine, but I thought that the team wasn't going to be there yet. That wasn't even considering the injuries that they have suffered through the first 3 weeks of the season. If they make the playoffs, I think he's got a strong case to be Coach of the Year. Anything else before we move on?
Most impressive. Just want to throw it out there, and he's only going to get more important. How about Bryce Huff reuniting with Robert Saleh? 89 pass rush grade, 5 pressures, and a sack. It's all the same thing. Just get back with Robert Saleh, get in that wide 9, and get after it. Bryce Huff has a 90 pass rush grade through 3 games. And all of a sudden, with Bosa out, how important does he look? And how important does that trade look that they might at least have some semblance of a pass rush without Bosa because they have Bryce Huff in there? He was incredible in this game.
He was. Yeah. Last game?
First game.
Thursday Night Football. Last game, the first game. Dolphins at the Bills. Buffalo wins this game by 10, 31-21. Top 5 graded players that we have from Buffalo in this game. Offensive guard, David Edwards at the top of the list with a 95.4. My goodness.
Not Isaiah Rodgers, but it's pretty good.
Sheesh. Defensive tackle, Daquan Jones, a 90.5. Offensive guard, Osiris Torrance, a 90.3. Tight end, Dalton Kincaid, an 85.8. Offensive tackle, Deion Dawkins, a 75.8. And then Josh Allen, a 75.7. On Miami side of things, center Aaron Brewer, 92.2. Tight end Julian Hill, 72.9. Wide receiver Malik Washington is 72.7. Edge rusher Jalen Phillips is 71.9. Safety Ashton Davis is 70.9. And then Tua Tagovailoa in this one, a 50.6. Dalton, we can be quick at this one. We've analyzed this one a bunch, but Seth told the story.
Yep, this Bills offensive line, it was just absolutely disgusting in this game. They had an 89.6 grade as a unit, a 91.3 run blocking grade as a unit. They only gave up 6 pressures all night, all of them hurries. Josh Allen was not hit in this game, at least not charged to the offensive line. This year, this Bills offensive line, which brought back all 5 starters from last year, 76.2 PFF grade. The Bills lead the NFL, and this includes their tight ends as well, because they got some group of tight ends between Kincaid and everything he can do as a receiver. Dawson Knox is basically a 6th offensive lineman. Jackson Hawes is basically a 7th offensive lineman, a rookie from Georgia Tech. He's just and he caught a touchdown in this game. What Joe Brady can do with these run blockers and all these tight ends and everything, the Bills lead the NFL in run blocking grade by 10 points. They're 10 points better than anybody else. You go back and you watch this. You watch the sideline angle of this Bills run game, especially these zone blocking schemes. They're moving the Dolphins' defensive line 2, 3, 4 yards like every single play. Just you talk about vertical displacement. It's just the line is just shifting. And I know I've gotten on the Dolphins' defensive line for playing below its talent level this year, but the lines just completely shift when the Bills decide to just turn around and hand the ball off. The game was tied at 21 late. It was never out of control if you're Buffalo, because this offensive line, anytime they wanted to, could just maul people. And my most impressive, it helps when both of your guards set career highs in PFF grade. David Edwards, a 95.4. I mean, he messes around 2 or 3 times a year and gets a 95.4, 11 positively graded blocks. Osiris Torrance, before this game, had never had a grade above 76. He hits a 90 in this game. If you get the third-year breakout from him, because he struggled for a bit his first 2 years, but he's still, he's taking his lumps. 9 positive run blocks for him in this game, especially in those zone schemes that he used to run so much at Louisiana and at Florida. This Bills offensive line, it's just such a luxury, I think, for Joe Brady, unlike some other teams, to not have to ask Josh Allen to carry them every week, to lean on these 5 guys up front. Plus, there was the play where Jackson Hawes scored a touchdown. You got your 5 offensive linemen, which is already sick. You've got Alec Anderson out there, the 6th guy. And then you've got Dawson Knox and Jackson Hawes out. You basically got 8 offensive linemen out there.
Yeah.
And then we run a play-action pass, and one of them catches a touchdown.
It's so hard to defend.
What Joe Brady can do, because now they can get an 11 and spread out anytime you want, let Josh Allen take the game over. Or they can apparently play like the Baltimore Ravens with all these linemen and tight ends and big
They're built
monsters.
to win a Super Bowl.
Offensively, yes.
Yeah, they're built to win a Super Bowl.
The other side, we'll see.
We'll get there. Maybe.
Offensive, they've been ready to win a Super Bowl offensively. And this whole line up front, they were just moving people. They were forklifting people.
My most impressive was the Bills tight end offense. 80.2 passing grade when targeting tight ends in this game. 148.5 QBR, 2 touchdowns, 71 yards, 6 catches, and that was without Dawson Knox even getting a single target. That was Jackson Hawes and Dalton Kincaid. Dawson Knox didn't get a single target in this game. So there's even more in the tank for the tight end offense to play better. Stat that told the story for me. Dolphins' offensive line. She's not good enough. They're not going to win football games with this offensive line. Keon Smith and Jonah Savanaia are the 66th and 67th ranked guards in the NFL out of 67 qualifying offensive guards.
I've never seen this before. Savanaia, a 0 pass blocking grade 2 weeks in a row.
You just can't win.
I have never seen that before.
Just can't win.
And I think it's a 5 for the season.
And
the pass protection was supposed to be the best part of his game.
Yeah.
But playing inside, moving in from right tackle, he's playing at Arizona. He played some guard, but either way, he's supposed to be a solid bet. You traded up to get him. Traded a decent amount to trade up to get him.
Yeah.
It's tough in Miami.
Yeah. Nothing along the trenches is going well in Miami right now. And that's why they're sitting there at 0-3. Appreciate everybody watching the show, as always, getting in on the chat. It was fun to interact with you guys live, see a lot of your live comments as we were going through every single one of these games. If you want to see all the information that we talked about here on the show, the best way to do that is with a PFF Plus subscription. If you don't have one, you can get 25% off right now. PFF NFL Show 25 is the promo code when you go to subscribe.pff.com to get you 25% off of that subscription. And it's not just right now. It's not just for the season. It's for the off season as well. It is a year-long subscription. So why don't you get yourself 3 free months? 25% off. PFF sub. Subscribe.pff.com. If you are somebody who would like to sponsor the show in any way, shape, or form, or anything that we have going on here at PFF, sales@pff.com. We would love to talk to you about that. Dalton, I feel like it's a big week of college football, right? Because you guys are previewing a bunch of good games this weekend.
12 games we've got previewed
12,
tomorrow.
you madman.
It is a stacked slate. Oh, I'll be up all night watching the tape for sure. Yeah, it is a stacked college slate. Check in tomorrow with the college show.
Yeah, make sure you guys
1 o'clock tomorrow. Make
sure you guys are subscribed to the college football channel. Subscribe to this channel if you watch the video and you made it this far and you're not subscribing. We would love to have you hanging out with us every single week of the season. We got some film breakdowns. We've obviously got the college stuff on their channel. And then we've got the preview show for previewing week 4 of the NFL coming on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. For Dalton Wasserman, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying thank you guys so much for watching the PFF NFL show. See you guys on Wednesday.